All right, everybody. Good evening to you all from wherever you're listening from. This is the webinar that we've been waiting for. Finally, we get to address one of the topical issues in our industry as it has been in the past couple of weeks now. But you all know that this has been a subject of conversation for many years, and we're finally here to be able to talk about it. Before I go into any further discussion or talks about that, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Tolulope Kolade, and I am a voiceover artist, a podcaster, and the host of the Everything Voiceovers podcast, The African Perspective. I'm also the founder of Voiceverse, which is a platform where you can find out more about voiceovers in Nigeria, where we document the stories and we share opportunities about the voiceover industry in Nigeria. Again, I want to say a big welcome to everybody. Thank you for joining us today as we discuss AVOA Rate Card. It's an AVOA Rate Card virtual workshop, and we thought it is very, very okay for us to come together as an association and also as an industry, to look at these matters together. So, this is a collaboration or a collaborative effort between the Association of Voiceover Artists Nigeria and Voiceverse. And we thought, let's bring everybody together, let's have these conversations, and we're happy to have it here today. I'll be hosting today's event, and yes, I'm not the only one doing it. I also have Eniola Keshinro, a beautiful colleague of mine, and we will be doing this together even though Eniola is going to be taking over in about an hour from now, she will be hosting a session that has to do with panelists where they will be talking about the matters, more in depthly. But for now, we'll be having some gentlemen who are, you can call them OGs. One of them, of course, is undoubtedly an OG, and the other is undoubtedly a veteran in the industry. They will be, having the sessions for the next 1 hour to tell us about the background, the history of the voiceover rate cards in Nigeria, and also showing us and giving us more clarity about the voiceover rate card, the 2023 voiceover rate card, as established by AVOA. But before I go any further, I'd want to recognize the presence of the president of the Association of Voiceover Artists in Nigeria, a man who has been the president for about 4 years now, and he has impacted the voiceover industry, inspiring a lot of us. We grew up hearing his name on our TV screens. We grew up falling in love with acting, and I'm sure a lot of people were also influenced to become actors or voice actors. He's a renowned Nigerian actor, voiceover artist, a singer with a celebrated career spanning over 3 decades in the entertainment industry. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about the one and only, the legendary Sir Segun Arinze. Please, a round of applause. You can do that via the chats. I'd like us to, honor Mr. Segun Arinze, who is the president of the association. Sir Segun Arinze, if you are available to speak right now, would love to hear you say one or two things before we get into the matter for today. Thank you very much, G, for that. I see the emojis dropping right now in the chat section. Thank you, guys. Please keep dropping it. Keep dropping it. I see a lot of people have joined, yes. And if there are people who should be here and are not here, please send them a reminder. Send them a reminder and let them know that we have started this conversation for real. While I wait for Sir Segun Arinze to, join and give us his opening remark as the president of the Association of Voiceover Artists in Nigeria, I'd like to let you all know what you should be expecting for today. So today is going to be about 2 hours. We hope to finish before 2 hours. But yes, we'll be talking about everything that has to do with the rate card. And the good thing is that you also have the opportunity to share your own perspectives and comments and ask your questions for the voiceover rate card. So we'll be starting with the session from Sir Ambrose Mosi, who is going to give us an in-depth look into the historical background and development of the rate cards in Nigeria. And then we'll go into a session that will be hosted by Sir Eric Maximus, one of the OGs. And he'll be explaining the rate card for us to understand it better. And then we'll go into the panel session where we would have the General Secretary of AVOA, Joy Ogbekene. We'll also have Ahmed Olalekan, one of the pro voiceover artists in Nigeria, Chioma BBB as well, who is another pro voiceover artist, an OG as well, and a coach, and King E, the founder of the voiceover workshop and media. And that panel session will be moderated by Eniola Keshinro. I can't wait to hear what that's going to look like or, sound like, because it's going to be an interesting conversation. So, and we would also have time to take questions and answers. All of that will be happening today. And I want you guys to relax and enjoy the conversation. Get your writing pad because there are lots of things that you'll be realizing about the Nigerian rate system. We've had debates about, so, okay, is the rate fair? Debates about what should be the bare minimum people should take, what is acceptable, what is unacceptable. We hope to be able to get answers to all of that. I'm still hoping that we can have the president of the association, Sir Segun Arinze, speak to us as he should be giving us his opening remark before we get into other things for today. And after Mr. Segun Arinze, we'll be having Sir Ambrose Mosi, a veteran in our industry. So, Sir Segun Arinze, if you are able to kindly unmute your mic and show us your video, as we'd like to get some remark from you as we kick off today's AVOA Rate Card virtual workshop. Shout out to AVOA for doing this, by the way. It's been a long time that we had, something like this. And I think this is one for the books. So I am looking forward to the conversation so much. All right. So right now it's looking like the president is not available to speak. I wish the vice president was here. But then I think we need to, get going with the conversation as it should be. The General Secretary is here, Joy Ogbekene. Shout out to you, Joy. But we'll be hearing from Joy much later today. Another person that I am hoping is available right now to, commence the sessions is Sir Ambrose Mosi, the veteran voice actor. I'm so unsure if he's right here in the Zoom meeting, but I will, as much as possible, introduce him. My eye is so busy right now trying to find him where he is. But then let me just introduce him in hopes that he's actually available. But Sir Ambrose, if you are available, do you mind unmuting your mic so I can just get a clear signal from you, and then we can start the conversation, properly. So I'm waiting for him. While I'm waiting for all of these things to happen actively, I'd like to get some comments in the background. I want to know what you guys are so curious about. What's the big question that you have? And I want to really know this because I know it's going to help some of our speakers to know what the pains and the issues are and know how to properly address them. So you could please drop that, in the chat section. Let's feel the vibe. Let's know what's going on. Let's know what you're thinking about. What are the issues? Wow. Interestingly, we have the vice president of AVOA joining us right now, and I hope that he's able to say one or two things before we proceed. So the vice president is around, and I can't wait to pass the mic to him. Sir, if you can, hear me and if you can speak right now, do you mind unmuting? I just want to hear your voice before, I give you a proper introduction. Okay, I guess it's still trying to, get everything together. But Sir Abdul will be hopefully speaking to us in a matter of minutes. All right. Okay, so I'm waiting for your comments in the chat section. Let me see. Akonde Michael says, I'd like to know how to properly pitch myself on social media so as to attract more patronage. Interesting. That's quite an interesting one. And Ayola Munis, one of our Egbons in the building, it says professionalism and remuneration. I want to know that too. So I'm hoping that, all these are OGs will be able to help us solve the problems. I see Eric's reaction when I said OG. Eric always believes that he's a Gen Z, So I'm going to put Eric to the test about that real soon. Okay, I'm waiting for more messages and comments. Guys, it's 15 minutes in, and unfortunately, we've not been able to get either the vice president or or the president of the association. So I guess we're just getting into the conversation today. I will also,
No, sorry. The vice president is here. When I actually made my first comment, I didn't realize I was muted.
oh, wow, apologies, sir.
Oh, it's okay. Good evening, everyone. Tcode, congratulations once again. And here we are. But then the house must forgive me. I will not shy away from saying, from talking, but then believe me, I did not praise myself enough with the subject matter before coming on. Since Salah, since Idil Fitr, it has been very, very hectic for me. Even as I'm talking now, I'm on the road driving. Yeah.
All right, all right, it's all right. We're so happy to, have you on with us. That is the voice of Sir Abdul Mohammed, who is the vice president of AVOA. He has been a veteran voiceover artist for many years now. I'm sure over 2 decades, and he has been an
Sure, sure.
He's been an executive of the association for many years as well, still standing strong. And it's a pleasure to have you join us, sir.
Thank you, T Code.
All right. So now that we've had the what do I call it now? The blessings of the elders. Let me also appreciate the executives of AVOA who have been, holding forth for the association in the voiceover industry so far. They are amazing people, from the general secretary to the financial secretary to the publicity PR person. I'm sorry, I don't know the designations exactly, but I know that they're a team of people who have been working behind the scene to ensure that AVOA continues to do what it does for the voiceover industry. So please, let's just celebrate them with a round of applause before we get into the next part of the conversation today. Okay, great, 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 great. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. All right, then, with all of this said and done, I think it's good for us to now have our first session. And our first session is going to be held by a man who knows this industry like the palm or the back of the palm of his hand. How do they say that? This man, I had a conversation with him for about 2 hours, and he was able to tell me so many historical things. Like, he would tell me back in 1990 something, back in 2000 and something, this person was this person was that, this person came from here. He's so knowledgeable about the voiceover industry. And interestingly enough, he served as the chairman of the AVOA Rate Card Development Committee 2 years ago. I'm talking about a veteran voice actor and one of Nigeria's most respected figures in the voiceover industry with over 2 decades of experience. Ladies and gentlemen, with a round of applause, which you can actually show me via the chat section, I'd like you to welcome to the mic Sir Ambrose Mosi, a veteran voice actor and a member of AVOA. Please, please, please welcome Sir Ambrose Mosi. I am hoping that he's actually around to talk to us. Yes, sir. Welcome. If you can hear me, if you're available, if you're in the meeting right now, it's time to have your session. Okay, we're still waiting. All right. It really looks like we would have to be patient with him and give him some time before he joins us. Okay, so since we don't have Sir Ambrose with us right now, we would have a session later. But the person who we have with us, who we know that we can have a session, is right here with us in the building. He's one of the Odoguanem of the voiceover industry. He has coached a lot of us, several voiceover artists over the years, and he's also very influential, still influential, in putting things together in the voiceover industry. As a matter of fact, he had a massive input in the creation of the rate card by AVOA, and he's a voiceover coach. He's one of the top voiceover artists, A-list artists in Nigeria, with about 2 decades of experience in the voiceover industry. Our Egbon, our big brother in the house, Sir Eric Maximus Ekweme. Ladies and gentlemen, please give him a round of applause. I want to see that in the comment section. Guys, please, 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 please. Yes, 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 yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. Welcome, Sir Eric. Welcome. Welcome.
Hi, Tcode. What's happening?
I am fine. I'm okay. Nice to see your face. You don't grow old. You grow younger.
I'm only 25. Why would you guys learn this? Well, see, I'm a Gen Z. Please, 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 please. I'm Gen Z, Gen Z. To my fellow Gen Zs in the house.
Shout out to you, Eric. So I'll let you do your thing right now as you take us through the voiceover rate card from AVOA, explaining to us commercials, narration, and animation. Sir Eric, over to you now.
Hi everyone. Good evening, wherever you're reaching us from, whether you're here in Nigeria or you're outside of Nigeria. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for joining us in this very, what will I call it? What kind of occasion will I call it? But it's an honor to give this short class. I will make it as short as possible. I hope I'll be able to give as much information as you guys might require in understanding the current rate card that AVOA released in October of 2023. I will do my best to help you navigate it just in case you've not been able to understand it. And also help, and I hope that the information I share with you will help you also build your personal rate cards, which you should also have at the palms of your hands. All right. I also want to thank AVOA for this opportunity to represent and, explain to the public of Iwemado how this is going to go. I think I have a message from the secretary of AVOA. I can't remember what she sent to me. Anyway,
I'm in a meeting.
Okay. So as much as possible, I'm supposed to help in navigating through the commercial narration and animation of the rate card. If you check the chat section, I just shared, for those who don't already have a downloaded copy of the rate card, I just shared the rate card. Okay, this was before certain comments came in. I don't know why you guys don't want to accept it. I'm 25. Forever 25. I'm going to be 25 for the rest of my life. Yes, so I did share that. For those of you who want to look at it while I'm giving comments or brief navigation through it, yeah, you're free to do so. Yes, I am 25. I don't. Joy, behave yourself. Behave. Oh, apologies. My microphone is unmuted. I think it is. Yes, it is. Okay, so I understand that it can be tasking to understand the rate card because what we're used to prior to 2023 was about a two-pager. But, AVOA in its wisdom looked at the industry and looked at other sister industries across the planet and realized that we were not covering enough of what is represented by the association. If you look at the old rate card that existed, unfortunately, I don't have a copy of the old rate card. I could have shared that as well. Well, it was a two or three page. I'm not quite sure, but it was just commercials, documentary, and I think IVR. And it wasn't extensive enough. It didn't cover certain parameters and usage formats because that's actually one of the things that differentiates the new rate card from the old rate card. So as much as possible, one of the things I tried to identify was what are these different categories? Because you see, there has been a false assumption that everything about voiceovers in Nigeria is advertising. Unfortunately, it's not. We've already seen the growth of the audiobook space in Nigeria with the launching of some animations in the last few years, especially most recently, I think Yanu, which is currently on Showmax and Cartoon Network. We can see the growth of the animation space. Some of us have already been on various animations beforehand, and remuneration has always been a big problem. People don't understand, what is feasible and what is not. So it's been an important thing for us to get out there and have some form of representation in terms of the rates. So without wasting so much of your time, I'm going to take you down. For those of you who have downloaded the rate card, I'd like to take you down to the radio section. If you look at the rate card, it was done alphabetically. That's most of the topics were done alphabetically, or the categories were done alphabetically. So you started with the ADR, which is the automatic dialogue replacement. Automated dialogue replacement. Then it moved down to additional chargeable items, rates, and rules. That's for those of us who are not really conversant of some of the rules that exist even within rate cards. And then there was the animation section, the audiobook section, the audio drama section, the apps section, the cinema section, the corporate narration and presentation section, documentary section, the e-learning section, explainer section, games, toys, and mobile game section, the interactive voice response (IVR) section, then internet usage, podcast, public locations and events, radio, TV, and then text to speech / AI voices, and then finally with voice of God and live announcements. I would really appreciate if questions come in as I'm speaking, so that if you don't understand anything I have said so far, I can always address them. 25 to 52, kind of similar. Michael Akonde. I will pretend I didn't miss that, but well, no, let's just get straight into the nitty-gritty of it. So, for the purpose of today's short section, because I can tell you this, you cannot understand the rate card in 30 minutes. But I will do the best as I can to explain at least the nitty-gritty of some of the things that were used. Now, back in the day, when the rate card was first introduced, there are certain parameters that were not discussed. So usage was one of those parameters. We didn't discuss, how long a voiceover is supposed to be used. People don't know, even up till now, people don't know. And agencies and the clients, they know. Some clients don't. But the agencies, the clients, the production houses, they know. The standard usage for any voiceover anywhere in the world is 1 year. In countries like America, advertising, especially adverts, is done with a 13-week cycle. South Africa has a 13-week cycle. In Nigeria, we have a 1-year cycle for usage for commercials. So a commercial can run maximum of 1 year. Anything after that 1 year has to be renewed. So that's why we have the additional chargeable items in the AVOA Rate Card, which is just after the ADR section, which talks about renewals and some other things. So it's important that, we explain why some of these things exist in the first place. I think one of the things going forward with my work on as an association is put a glossary of what some of these words might mean. But we already felt that the rate card being about 15 pages was already colossal in its size, because everybody was used to having a 1-pager or 2-pager or 3-pager. Even when you have people with personal rate cards, you find out that everybody tries to compress everything into a 1-page or a 2-pager when they are sharing with their clients. And that's because for personal rate cards, you must have an understanding of the categories you are participating in, so that when the client says, okay, so what does it mean? And you can explain it. But, the AVOA Rate Card goes even further to explain usage, and channels of usage, duration of usage, and how these things can be used in what spaces or forms. Breaking down categories if you have teasers, what teasers are compared to what a promo is, different from what a trailer is. The fact that they're all radio adverts doesn't mean that anybody who can do a promo can do a trailer. That's not true. Promos require high energy, for example. So if you're not a high energy voiceover artist and they are giving you might not understand what a promo is. It's a radio advert. As far as they're concerned, they call you, we're doing a radio advert. But you see, categories differ and classes differ. So you need to also understand what these things are so that, before shooting yourself in the foot, somebody reaches out to you and says, I want you to do a TV advert, and then they give you a trailer. If you're not a trailer voiceover artist, you will have a problem in an interpretation or actually voicing it. So it was important for us to break these things down as much as possible for people to understand, and also save us the stress of losing money in different places. For example, in the section of internet, which was also repeated in the TV section, we mentioned that in the rate card. But before I even go there, it is also very important because I one of the things that facilitated this webinar was the fact that people have been charging certain rates. I want to also clearly state it here that yes, Tcode, please, if you can share your screen, share the rate card. I want to make it clearly stated here that this rate card, and this is for everyone to know. The amounts mentioned on the rate cards are minimums. They might be suggested rates, but they are minimums. The mistake we've had in Nigeria is that people just go straight to the minimum. So when we say radio is 100,000 naira, we don't mean radio is pinned at 100,000 naira. We're saying that the minimum anybody can charge for radio is 100,000 naira. So I hope this is the first thing that you guys can understand. Also, it's important for people to understand that this rate card applies to the major industries particularly. We're talking about Lagos, we're talking about Abuja, we're talking about Port Harcourt. It might be hard for you to push for these rates outside of these places unless you are dealing with the clients or the agencies directly. If you're dealing with, say, Eric and Son Nigeria Limited that is based in Enugu, it might be hard for you to tell Mr. Eric that you will do a radio voiceover for the price of 100,000 naira. He's going to look at you and think, how much are they charging me to do the voiceovers in the radio stations over there? Because first of all, the media rates in the East or in the North, they're usually low. But if you're doing it in the major markets, which is the regional markets and the national markets, where an advert is running across the region. So let's say you're doing a Hausa voiceover. Like, let me take, for example, our Vice President, Mr. Alhaji Abdul Mohammed. If he's doing a voiceover that will run across the Northeast or North Central, for example, that's a regional advert. So in such a situation, these rates apply to him. But if he's doing something for a friend of his who just has a shop somewhere on maybe Wuse Road, Abuja, which will not probably run in more than one station, then unfortunately it will be hard for him to ask the person to pay the standard AVOA rate. I hope this is clear to everyone. So no, back to now the usage I was talking about. We had situations where, unfortunately, you would do a voiceover for, say, terrestrial TV, let's say NTA2 Channel 5 or Arise, or that's the impression we're given. And then you're watching DSTV and then you're seeing the advert. So we needed to cover that. We would see adverts done for TV and they show up on the internet. We needed to cover that. So what we did was that we did a price bump in the first place. So it's important for the artist, whoever you might be, to understand these parameters so that when someone says to you, I want to do something on TV, just bear it, whatever at the back of your mind, just know that it's cable. It's not terrestrial TV. If you're doing terrestrial TV, then you're doing for a much smaller brand, which is where you might have to also use your discretion in negotiations. But you see, the rates here are the assumption that you're using it on a cable network like DSTV or GoTV, or you're on one of these platforms. I think there's some of them are coming to Nigeria at the moment. So you have that at the back of your mind that that's what the platforms we're working on. So we had to introduce usage rates in a way that if you're doing something for TV and it's going to be used on the internet, if it's being flighted at the same time, and when we say flighted, we're talking about if a rate card, if a commercial is running at the same time on social media as it is on TV, then you're going to give a 50% discount. However, if the commercial is going to run at a different time, let's assume on DSTV they're doing an advert for Coca-Cola for let's use the Easter season, for example. And now they're doing a promo for the Easter season. Now, after the Easter season, they might decide to remove the elements of the Easter season and continue running the adverts. And they put that on TV. It means that on internet, it means that you're going to charge them for usage outside of the time that was given to you, which was Easter, for example. Because there are lots of adverts. I can give examples. There was a couple of years ago, Airtel had this very long advert, which they cut into 6 different sections eventually, and it was put out there. And people didn't realize that they were supposed to get paid for each of the cut downs. That's an example of what I'm saying. Now, they might say it's one advert, but no, it's not. It's not just one advert, because once you cut an advert, it becomes a standalone advert. We've had situation with voiceover artists in the past who did the switch. I hope I don't really understand, but I hope you can help me clarify by putting your message on the chat. We've had a situation where voiceover artists have done stuff, or where they recorded something, and then for one program or one advert or one phrase said in a documentary, and then they needed to use that same thing for something else, and without consulting the voice of artist, they just lifted the audio thinking, it's our audio. Unfortunately, that's not the case. If anybody takes your audio from something you've worked on and puts it on another material, whether it's advertising material or something else, you are eligible to get paid for it, because what you recorded was for that particular material. Let's say the material was for Eric Tomato Paste, and the exact name of the radio was Nami Getam. Now, if they now say, or if Eric Tomato Paste wants to do something for Christmas, Eric Tomato Paste does not have the right to take your voice from Nami Getam radio commercial and place it on the Christmas commercial that they're going to run for a bonanza. They don't have the right to do that without informing you and paying you accordingly. So that's one of the things that the rate card tries to explain. If there are any sections that you're going through right now on the rate card and you do not understand, I would really love it if you could, send your chats or questions here so that I can help explain. So for the radio section, we have standard or basic radio commercials, premium radio commercials. We have mnemonics or payoffs. That's as we know them here in Nigeria. So for instance, you're doing MTN. What are we doing today? That's a mnemonic, a payoff. It's important that you have that at the back of your minds, that there is an average rate. So we did it in such a way that, you can be paid per radio or per TV. You can be paid annually, and you can also be given the right to be paid exclusively. So, if you're being paid exclusively, it means that you cannot voice for a competing brand. Like we said, these amounts here are bare minimums. You can, depending on how good your negotiation power is, you can, as much as possible, get even more than that. And it's important that you know that as well, because while we're trying to be as fair as possible with the rates, we also understand that Nigeria get as it be. So we put time checks, we put promos and teasers, sponsorship identifiers or bumpers, and then end boards and tags. And then in the notes section on the rate card, we did as much as possible to explain what these things mean primarily, so that when someone reaches out to you and says, "Oh, I'd like you to do a bumper for me," and if you don't understand what a bumper is, well, now you do. It's there on the rate card. So it is the job of the voiceover artist to familiarize themselves with every terminology on these rate cards so as not to get cheated or tossed aside. Yes, so the same thing applies for TV. And then one particular thing we changed there in the TV section was the franchise identifiers or idents, which can, so if you're selected to be the voice for, say, The Voice Nigeria is proudly sponsored by, just know that because it's a franchise, you're going to charge based on how your voice is used for such franchises. I hope that explains that. If you go to the internet section on page, that's page 10, that shows you, it gives you an impression, the different categories or subcategories as impressions or cost per view or cost per click. This usually applies to people who are more on the internet space, or if you understand the internet space a little more. If you're good at monitoring how these things are done. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, we're not so good at monitoring, but it was important for us to put it out there so that just in case you have a background in understanding how adverts are used on the internet, you could actually charge based on this. But we simplified it with commercials, web only, commercials, pre-roll. People don't know that there's a difference in pre-roll and normal internet connect web only adverts. So what happens if you have an advert that runs on your social media channels, like Instagram, Facebook, that, or just basic internet? That's a web only. But the pre-roll is what runs on, say, YouTube. For example, I was even going to reach out to Eniola Keshinro. I play this mobile game on my phone, and at every turn, I was greeted by her commercial for Visa. So it's important that I'm sure she has already negotiated, but it's important for those of us who don't already know this, that they could take these adverts and place them on YouTube videos, on games. And it's important to know how to charge for them. So at the beginning of your negotiations with your clients, with your agents or agencies, or with whoever the people you're negotiating with, it's important to find out where the commercials or where the materials, the documentaries, or where the animation is going to be used. If you don't ask these questions, then you will have situations where you've been paid for, say, you did a documentary that ran on the internet, but then the documentary is running at an event and you're not told about it. The documentary is being played at an annual general meeting and you just happen to be a shareholder of that particular brand and you were not told about it, you were not paid for it. You cannot, at that point in time say, oh, you didn't, because you didn't ask the question. If you had asked the question and they told you, oh no, we're only using for this, you now have proof that they said to you, we're only using it for this. Then when they decide to use it for other things, you can hold them and say, but you said, and I quote, you use it for only this. Why is it showing up at an event? Why is this documentary playing at the annual general meeting or at the stadium where you're having an exposition? So it's important that you ask these questions from the very beginning. How will this material be used? The same thing applies with animation. If we go to the animation section, we did what we tried to do is, because it's a new category here in Nigeria, we tried to, and a special shout out for if there are any voiceover artists who are not Nigerian on this webinar. I'd like to say shout out to our colleagues in South Africa, in the US, and in Australia, in the UK, because when I had conversations with a lot of people as regards, how to drop the Nigerian rate card, which was discussed with the rate card committee, which was chaired by Mr. Ambrose Mosi, who will come and talk to us about the history of rate cards. Also, shout out to us, AVA in Australia. They just did their 1-year anniversary and re-election of new executives. They were also very helpful, especially our Vice President, Teresa Lim, who was very helpful in some of the information we got for our rate card as well. Now, if you go to the animation section, here, you will see that we tried as much as possible to involve episodic rate usage and session rate usage. So for the episodic rate usage, we're talking about, say you're charging based on how many episodes you feature in. You can do that, or you can charge on how many hours you spend in the studio. So the rates are being given there for you to understand and be compensated accordingly. But it also says there that it's you also need to bear in mind broadcast fees, usage on TV, radio, cinema. That's for commercials. They might take excerpts from the animation and use them for the trailers that they're going to start doing commercials. They might take your voice and from some of these things and use it for toys and merchandise materials, gaming, and more that you need. And some of these things will be done in perpetuity. That's forever and ever and ever and ever. So it is important you ask these questions and negotiate accordingly. I hope I'm making myself clear. Like I said, it's not possible for us to break down the entire rate card in 30 minutes, because even when the committee was making a presentation to the General House in AVOA, we probably spent about 3 hours doing so, and we didn't even get through the entire thing. But it is your responsibility as a voiceover artist to understand the rate card and draw your own rate card accordingly in respect to the AVOA rate card. It's important you do that. It's also important for you to educate your clients on the rate card. If they've not seen it or if they claim ignorance of it, it is your responsibility to educate them on the parameters that the rate card covers. We did as much as possible as cover. I know there's been a conversation about the rate card being outdated in terms of the rates, because when we were doing the rate card, we're doing it with certain exchange rates and parameters in perspective. And we know that Nigeria has changed long since the rate card was released. But it's also important to note that the minimums, those amounts there are also minimums. So if you can negotiate with your clients, if you can, negotiate for much higher, there's nothing stopping you from collecting a 1 million naira for a 2-minute documentary. If you can bargain, then it's your prerogative. So be it. I'm sorry. The president of the association is also a Nollywood veteran. You don't expect him to go to a meeting with someone for a voiceover and then think that he's going to charge the same thing as somebody who started voiceovers last week. I'm sorry. He has paid his dues, and accordingly, he can decide to charge 2.5 million for the same thing that you would charge 100,000 naira for. It depends on your bargaining power. If you know how to bargain, you could also collect 2.5 million. No one is stopping you. So yes, while we say that those minimums are in existence, please bear this in mind. You can negotiate for far more as long as your ability can carry it. Nobody's holding you. You sure you understand? Thank you. So if there are any questions, yes, if you can defend the 1 million naira, so be it. Some of us are doing it. That's why some people are living now in Lekki, using pure water to take their baths. It's doable. It's doable. If you can afford to live in Lekki, why not? So let me quickly go through the chat section and see if there are any questions pertaining to the breakdown of the rate card. As I've said in numerous private sessions, I've always told people it's important for you to understand the rate card and then draw your rate card in respect to this rate card. Yes, it's also, as a comment from someone, it's also very important to join AVOA so that at least you will not just understand the rate card, but also get defended using it. Because if you're a freelance voiceover artist and you get into any problem with any association, with any agency or production house or any client, you are on your own. On your own. However, as a member of AVOA, we can defend you. We can send our lawyers and say, our member did this and you knew the rate card and you abused it, and therefore we are liable to sue you for the certain amount of so million naira. So I hope that is clear as well. Let's see comments for someone who has been doing it as a side hustle but now wants to but now wants to pursue a career in it, what are the groups one can join for, or communities or bodies, so one doesn't just keep doing things without being informed or missing opportunities? Thank you, Ayola Muniz, for answering. AVOA is the go-to association for all things voiceover, but you can also join whatever association groups you can for the sake of knowledge. They are also in existence. We partner with one of them, the Voiceover Workshop. We also have the Voiceover Academy. We have the Voiceover Bootcamp. If you're not in Lagos or Abuja or Port Harcourt, there's the Voiceover Connect in Port Harcourt. I saw Robbie here, and he's doing a great job in training voiceover artists in Port Harcourt. So you can always join if you're in Port Harcourt, but based on association, AVOA is the association that protects and looks after voiceover artists in Nigeria. Let's see. What are the items in the industry in an included standard invoice? As much as possible in your invoice, you need to state what you're being paid for in terms of usage. So clearly stated there, if it's web only, write web only. If you're going to use it for TV, if you put TV, internet, and co, it's binding on you. Those are things that are included in your standard invoices. Your account number should be there. For those of you who have, which is something we encourage a lot. Those of us who teach voiceover, we encourage this a lot. If you have your company or personal tax identification number, please put it there so that your taxes can be covered for you. We don't want situations where you show up at LIRS and then they're telling you that, oh, you are owing for the last 25 years. Sorry, we don't want that to happen. I don't know if there are any other questions that pertain to the rate card. Someone from AVOA will come later to explain how you can join AVOA. That's the question from Janet. Concerning newbies, what advice would you concerning setting rates? I've said it in my private sessions. I've said it also in AVOA sessions. And I've said it also at the Voiceover Workshop and other places I've taught. If you can defend it, nobody stops you from defending any rate you put. If you can charge what is here as the minimum on AVOA, on the AVOA rate card, why not? I know someone, she was a newbie, she had no experience whatsoever. She met a client and she charged the amount, and the client liked her voice and they paid her for it. And she was able to defend in her recording session. She had taken private classes, so she had learned the art of interpretation and personal direction, self-direction, and she was able to deliver, and she got her money complete. So if anybody says to you that you cannot charge what is the minimum here, I'm sorry. Some people might say, okay, and what I say to people is that, do you have to let the clients know that you're a newbie? That's why if you are done training with AVOA or with Voiceover Workshop or Voiceover Academy or Voiceover Bootcamp or VO Connect, if you had done prior training, you would have known that one of your calling card, the thing that makes you identifiable in the industry, is your demo reel. If you have your demo reel and you present it to a client and your demo reel is extensive enough to defend your abilities, why can't you charge? Deliver. That's the key word. Yes. Question, what's the meaning of buyouts in IVR? Yes. So interactive voice response, otherwise known as IVR, pertains to what you hear when you call like customer care or of a particular brand, and they're giving you directions on how to use it. Now, a buyout basically is, when you do an IVR, you're supposed to get paid annually. A buyout is where they give you money and say, if we decide to use it for 20 years, it's not concerning you. We've paid you off. A one-time fee where they pay you off. That's a buyout. So if, for instance, if you do an IVR for 550,000 naira and they intend on using it for 5 years and you charge them for 5 years, after 5 years, you can go there and collect your money and for renewal. Now, if they pay you and say, okay, apart from this 550,000 naira we've paid you for the job itself, we want to buy you out, then you can negotiate a certain fee. It could be 3 times, it could be 5 times the fee, it could be 10 times the fee, depends on your negotiation power, your ability to bargain. But once they pay you that buyout fee, if you hear that material after 10 years, you cannot go and meet them and say, you owe me for royalties. They paid you a buyout. That's what it was. So you need to also study the material to know whether it's something that can be renewable. If it's something that can be renewable, then it won't make any sense to do a buyout. But if it's something that you know that they won't bother, there's no point renewing this kind of material, that after a few years they will dump it and start something else again, then there's no point doing a buyout, So yes, so I hope I've been able to clarify that. What would you label yourself as a new? Why would you label? Yes, thank you, Jamaldine. You've also said the same thing I've said. Why would you label yourself as a newbie? Yes, Joy also said the same thing. The major thing is, can you deliver? If you go into an industry, even if someone says, "Oh, I've never heard your name before," you're like, "Yeah, because I don't do Nigerian." I know someone who makes their bread and butter from doing jobs on pay-to-play sites and has never done one advert in Nigeria or one documentary in Nigeria, and they make their money on the internet. And then, then somebody hears like, audition for this thing, and the person auditions and say, "I've never heard about you before." Yeah, you've never heard about me before because I'm on the internet. I'm not on your regular voice banks. You won't find me at this person's voice bank or that person's voice bank. But if you go on the internet and search my name, you see it there. And then the person says, "Okay, send me your demo reel." And then you give them an industry standard demo reel. Why would they know that you're a newbie? They won't know that. So it's up to you if you can deliver. So I hope with these few points of I'll be able to prove to you beyond all reasonable doubt that girls are better than boys. Thank you. If you have any questions, please put them in the section, and I'll try my best to answer them for you. Thank you very much. Thank you again to AVOA. Thank you, Voiceverse. Thank you very much. All right.
Thank you so much, Eric. Wow, it's so lovely listening to you teach again. It's been a long time that I've been under your session as my coach, which you have been over and over and over again. So I'm happy to hear you speak about all of this, guys. Please let's give Eric a round of applause. You do that via the emojis represented in the comment section. Eric, of course, without mincing word, is an OG, even though he identifies as a Gen Z.
Gen Z, y'all.
But he has about 2 decades of experience in this industry. One time
I started at 5. I started at age 5.
You can imagine. So now he's 25. And Eric is one of the A-list voice actors that you can think about. I mean, from Big Brother Naija to MTN. I mean, the last time I had Eric on my podcast, which is the Everything Voiceovers podcast, The African Perspective, we danced around the question of, we don't have to ask you which brand are you hoping to work for. It's a question of which brand have you not worked for, and we could barely see brands that Eric hasn't worked for. So that's to tell you how much impact he has in the industry.
I'm still growing. I'm still growing. Bring work for me. I'm still growing.
All right. Yeah. So he did so well to answer all the questions that was posed to him. And his session was basically about making or explaining the rate card, going deeper into commercials, narrations, and animation. Now, you'd see that the rate card is a document that contains several pages. As a matter of fact, 15 pages. So it is almost impossible to cover everything that has to do with the rate card right here in just 40 minutes. And that's why we have made the rate card available. And if you're wondering where else you can find the rate card, you can find it on AVOA's Instagram account. On the bio, it's there. It's downloadable, so you can download it for yourself. I would advise every voiceover artist.
Also on the website.
Also on the website. The website will be coming up very soon. It's currently going through maintenance right now, so you might not find it if you search for it. Yes, I was going to say that I will encourage everybody to go through the rate card. And I always say this, if you can go through the rate card from top to bottom, A to Z, and interpret it properly, I bet you are at least 50% more intelligent about voiceovers, in the industry. So it's something that I encourage everybody to do. Well, thank you so much, Eric, once again. And hopefully in another session after this, when we can take more questions, we might be able to have you answer questions that are left unanswered. All right, guys, it's 7 p.m. right now. We're 1 hour into the conversation, into this event. In case you're just joining, this is the AVOA Rate Card virtual workshop organized by AVOA in collaboration with Voiceverse. And we are here today because we want to demystify the rate card and also look into the issues of pricing. We talk about fair rates, we talk about what is obtainable in our industry from the client's perspective and also from the talent's perspective. And this has been an issue of debate in the in recent weeks with certain conversations sparking as a result of some propositions from certain brands that we can't mention their name. But we saw about 2 weeks ago AVOA putting out a memorandum to set the record straight, saying that the minimum for commercials in Nigeria is 100,000 naira, and seeing rates as ridiculous as 15,000, 20,000. 25,000, they are unacceptable. Now, Eric has done so well to explain to us the nuances involved, talking about how regions can also affect, the rates and all of that. So we're going to continue this conversation with a panel session. But just before we do that, there was a session that should have held before Eric's session. And this was a session that should have given us a background, an historical background into the development of the rate cards in Nigeria. You've heard Eric say that there was a rate card before this rate card that was published in 2023. There were rate cards before that time. I used to hear of stories where voiceover rates were, something lesser than 10,000 naira, maybe 7,000 naira, and all of that. The exchange rate has really gone AWire since then. So we want to know what that process has been like, or the background, and this will also give us a historical perspective into the existence of AVOA, because AVOA, many don't know, has been in existence for over 20 years, and they've been protecting the rights of voice actors in Nigeria. And to take us on that session is one of the veterans. I'm not so sure if he's available right now, but I would just try my luck. All right, guys. So, okay. So let me just introduce one of the veteran actors in the voiceover industry. As a matter of fact, he served as the chairman of the AVOA Rate Card Development Committee, playing a pivotal role in the shaping of fair pricing standards for voiceover performance and professionals in Nigeria. He's a veteran voice actor, known very much for his work in the pidgin and production area of voiceovers in Nigeria, with over 2 decades of experience. Someone said 35 years at least of experience, and I couldn't doubt that. I'm talking about Sir Ambrose Mosi. Please give him a round of applause. I'm hoping he's available to speak to us right now. Sir Ambrose, if you are around right now, would love to hear you say something. Okay. Okay, so I would assume that Mr. Ambrose is not available at the moment, but there is an episode on my podcast where I had him as a guest, and if you want to know more about the history of the voiceover industry in Nigeria, the era of the 90s, the 80s, Mr. Ambrose gave us some of these details. So you can go and listen to that episode. It's in season 1 of the Everything Voiceovers podcast, The African Perspective, and I'm sure you would learn a lot.
Hello.
Ooh, wow. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Wow, nice to have you in the
I'm sorry.
house.
I helped you guys waiting. A lot of Nigeria, a lot of I've been on the road though, and came back when there was no light, and had to go, for fear. And I eventually came back home to restore light. So I'm so sorry. And,
It's okay, sir. We're very happy to have you.
Good
Good
evening,
evening.
everyone in the house. Good evening, ladies
Good evening,
and
sir.
gentlemen. Happy to be here this evening. Yeah. So before I don't know, did you ask a question?
Okay, so again, thank you for joining us, and it's okay. We understand. Your apologies are more than accepted. Yes, we are. I mean, as the chairman of the AVOA Rate Card Development Committee, we thought it was very important for us to have you on this conversation, giving us a background to how we came about the rate card, and you can also touch on the history of the rich history of rate cards in the Nigerian voiceover space and the significance roles they've played so far.
Okay, thank you. I joined AVOA when the fee, voiceover fee was 3,500. Yeah, I joined in 1997. Yeah, so then they were still hanging around the Midi-Tone studios. You know, and so the fee then was 3,500, and then later they moved it up. That was in the year 2000. It was moved up to, no, the 2002 was moved up to 7,075. You know, at that time, agencies, of course, protested. No, we're not going to pay and all that. It was only Inside Communications. Permit me to mention them here, though I'm not the advert manager, but you know, they were the only agency that said, no, we value what you guys do more than what you are putting forward. We would like to pay you 10,000 naira. So at that time, they were in 10,000, while others were still struggling to pay 7,500. And so in 2012, and 2015, it was
Okay, I just want to be sure that it's not from my end. If you can hear me, please drop a message in the comment section. It seems Mr. Ambrose's internet is frozen right now. Okay, I think it's not from my end then. All right. We will see if he can join us again. I'm just gonna give a minute or so wait for us to see if Mr. Ambrose can join us again. But of course, I'm enjoying the conversation, and I hope you are too. Talking about how he joined in 1997 at a time when 3,500 naira was the rate for voiceovers and 7,500 naira in 2002. Interesting, isn't it? Anyway, we've come a long way from that time till now, and we're at an era where we say we charge 100,000 naira the least for voiceovers. Mr. Ambrose is going to give us more on this, and hopefully, in the next 10 minutes, we can round up with this particular session and get into the session where we talk about the nuances involved in pricing, negotiation, relating with clients, and all of that. Mr. Ambrose, welcome back. I know, or I believe you can hear me now, so you can continue giving us the historical background. If you can, please unmute your mic and please go on.
Sorry,
It's fine, no problem. And if the network is so much of an issue, you can just keep your video off. That would help with the internet speed. You're muted, sir.
Sorry. Yeah, I said in 2015 it was reviewed upwards again. There was another upward review of voiceover rates, and this time it was 15,000 naira. You know, and as usual, agencies, you know, started fussing about and say, what's there? Meanwhile, these are people who go outside the shores of Nigeria, South Africa, Ghana, to shoot commercials, to do jingles or voiceovers, and they abide by whatever rules and regulations that are, set down rules there in the advertising industry of that country. But when they come here, they rubbish everything we put forward. Well, they started after a long struggle. They paid. They started paying. Some of them started paying. Some said, "No, we're going to revert to old rates." Well, like, I think we are very magnanimous in AVOA. We give a long time before we, review our rates, and in the last review was in 2023? I think so. No. That was the last review. The one Eric and Mr. Afemikhe, King E. Were part of the committee. And okay, before then we had 20,000 naira, and that was in 2018. And there was no time we reviewed our rates that agencies don't make noise about it, and don't know why. But even now, the last review was in 2023, and most of them are still struggling. Most of them are still struggling to pay. In fact, some said they are not going to pay. That so.
Okay, so I'll assume again that we have some internet problems from Mr. Ambrose's end, but yeah, he has given us a very, very condensed version of how it has been in the past 20 years as regards rate cards in Nigeria. And there's a lot to learn and glean from in that short, presentation from Mr. Ambrose. So, looking at our time, we might not be able to further extend the conversation. Unfortunately, he's not able to complete that talk. I really hope he can, but
Hello.
okay,
Hello.
sir. All right. So, well, you're back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why this network is just treating me this way.
It's all right. Well, since you're already talking about the last review of the rates, we hope that we can, wrap up from there and have have you, give us the juice of it. You can unmute yourself now. Mr. Ambrose, you're muted. Okay. In any case, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for, being a part of this. Now, this is not the end. This is just a little technical issue that, we know how it goes here. But then we've had a good one from Mr. Ambrose, giving us, a summary of what has been in the voiceover industry. In 2023, from 2022 to 2023, I should say, probably around that period, he led a team of voiceover professionals, members of AVOA, to create what you call the current rate card, from AVOA. And we had a lot of contributions from other influential personalities in the industry, including Sir Eric Maximus himself. So we want to say a big thank you to Mr. Ambrose and the committee that put together the rate card. All right, now. So, yes, that's it for that session, and we would be moving on to the next. But if you're just joining, this is the rate card webinar. We call it the AVOA Rate Card Virtual Workshop, actually, where we're looking at the matters arising for the rate and pricing and negotiation in the voiceover industry in Nigeria. We've had a great session from Eric Maximus himself, who taught us about the rate card, looking at commercials, narrations, and animation. And we just listened to Sir Ambrose Mosi, a voiceover veteran and the chairman of the committee that put together the rate card. And now we're going into the next section. This time around, it's going to be a potpourri of superstars, if I could put it that way, because everybody on this next panel are highly respected individuals in the voiceover industry, very influential as well. And I must say kudos to AVOA, the team behind this workshop, for putting together this A-list individuals who have depth of experience and many years. Put together, we should be looking at about 50 years at least of experience. So they're in the right place to tell us about pricing, clients, and fair compensation in the voiceover industry. I would like that everybody is a part of this particular conversation by just listening, paying attention, taking notes, and if possible, ask questions if there is time to do so. Because we also have the delectable Eniola Keshinro, a voiceover artist and coach, who is going to be moderating this session. So before I hand over the mic to Eniola, allow me to just do a little introduction of who she is. Well, first of all, she's the one that Eric, made reference to, that he heard her voiceover for Visa right while he was playing some video games on his phone. So that gives you a bit of, introduction to who she is. Yes, she's a multi-talented individual who has earned a reputation as a versatile and trustworthy voiceover artist, the president of the Voiceover Academy Alumni Network, where she fosters collaboration and contributes to the growth of the voiceover industry in Nigeria. A very talented one at that. Ladies and gentlemen, if your hands are not too busy, well, yeah, your hands are not too busy to put the emojis in the comment section. Please help me make welcome Eniola Keshinro, voice artist and coach, as she moderates the pricing, client, and fair compensation panel session. Eniola, over to you. Please
Hi,
keep clapping.
Tcode. Thank you so much.
Hi.
Thank you so much, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Amazing. Thank you for that powerful introduction. Thank you. I really appreciate that. But I've also handed over as president of the Voiceover Academy Alumni Network. So we have a new president. So
Wow.
ex-president now.
Wow.
We have a new president. Shout out to Isaac. But yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for that powerful introduction. And thank you for starting the conversation so far. I must say, just listening, I have learned a lot from just hearing all of us speak at this particular webinar. So we can't thank you enough. We can't thank Voiceverse. We can't thank AVOA enough for initiating this much needed event. Again, I also want to say thank you to the brilliant Eric Maximus for that masterclass, because it was a masterclass on setting your rates. I'm sure people were just hearing terms and hearing things flighting on TV and like, what's happening here? So Eric is absolutely brilliant, and I think you should hold him by his shirt, right? If you want to grow in this industry, because he has a wealth of knowledge with him. So thank you for that. I believe that what he started off with has already set the tone for what we will discuss in this panel. So again, good evening, everyone, and thank you to everyone for joining us for this important panel discussion. We're diving into the topic that every voiceover professional who is operating in the Nigerian VO space is interested in, and that's the issue of fair pricing and the AVOA rate card. And as we all know, this issue of setting standards has been a long-standing conversation in our industry. And I think I can speak for everyone when I say that the introduction of the AVOA rate card was a timely and a significant step in ensuring that voice talents are well valued and well compensated for their work. So thank you again, AVOA, for putting together that rate card for us. As Tcode said, my name is Eniola Keshinro. I'm a voiceover talent. I'm a creative entrepreneur, and I'll be moderating today's panel. It's truly an honor, to be honest, to moderate this conversation between giants. I like to call them voiceover giants and legends. Mr. Ahmed Olalekan, King E, Mr. Emmanuel Afemikhe, Miss Chioma BBB, and Miss Joy Ogbekene. And one thing I love to say when moderating is I think that panels and trainings, like these, they are a cheat code because it brings together experts experts that you probably may not have access to on a normal day, and they sift through their many years of experience, right? Squeeze that knowledge together into an hour or two, and they hand it over to you for free. This is knowledge, this is information that you would be paying thousands, hundreds of thousands of naira, and thousands of dollars for, and we're giving it to you free of charge. So if I were you, I'll get out my notepads, write my questions down to have them asked here today. Let's just kickstart by introducing our incredible panelists. I'll just do a brief introduction because these are giants, like I said. So let me start by introducing Mr. Ahmed Olalekan, who is an award-winning African voiceover talent and broadcast media professional with nearly 2 decades of experience. He's known for his deep, soothing voice. He delivers captivating performances for top brands across Nigeria, across Africa, and parts of Europe. His versatile vocal range spans commercials, narrations, etc., creating compelling voiceovers that are tailored to each project. He's recognized for his extensive portfolio. He's worked on thousands of commercial scripts for major brands like Google, Netflix, and Coca-Cola, and he's also the founder of Project Eden. Ladies and gentlemen, in the comment section, please drop your emojis and give a very warm welcome to Mr. Ahmed Olalekan. Thank you for joining us. I will now move on to, is it here? Is Mr. Ahmed here? Okay, so I'll now move on to Mr. Emmanuel Afemikhe King E. Popularly, Emmanuel Macaulay Afemikhe, popularly known as King E, is a voiceover actor with over 10 years experience in the business of voicing, production, and voiceover directing. He's the founder and principal partner at the Voiceover Workshop and Media. These people are not new to us, and I'm sure that many of us know them. Voiceover Workshop and Media is a first-rate institute for voiceover artistry, production, outsourcing, and voiceover project management. He's also the convener of Africa's Pioneer Voiceover Conference, the Voiceover Conference, which is a platform that provokes communication that matters to the voiceover industry in Africa. As a talent, as a voiceover talent, he's lent his voice to brands like Jobberman, EcoBank, Heritage Bank, Intercontinental, and many others. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome in the comment section to King E. You're very welcome, King E. Can we hear your voice, please?
Hello, everyone. Good evening. It's good to be here. Hi.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for the opportunity. Right.
Thank you for joining us. Next on my panel, we have Chioma BBB, popularly referred to as Chioma, the big, bold, and beautiful one. Ms. Chioma Opala is a communication consultant with a professional career spanning over 20 years in media and entertainment. She's one of Nigeria's highly sought after commercial voices who was named in December 2019 as one of Nigeria's top female voiceover talents of the decade. She has worked with her voice for over a decade for various high profile brands such as the LBS Lagos Business School, DSTV Nigeria, MTN Nigeria, Etisalat, Unilever PLC, and so much more. Ms. Chioma is a multilingual voiceover talent who speaks 6 languages. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't clapped yet, please, a big round of applause. Some of us are still struggling to learn too. She is multilingual and she speaks 6 languages, including English, French, Pidgin, Igbo, and Idoma. She has won various awards and has been a huge contributor to the growth of the voiceover industry in Nigeria. Ms. Chioma BBB, we're so happy to have you here. Please give her a warm welcome. Let's hear you if you're in the room.
Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Okay, your volume is a little low, but welcome. Thank you for joining us today. And last but not least, a powerhouse on this panel is Ms. Joy Ogbekene. She is an award-winning Nigerian voice artist, actor, and model. She voices scripts for jingles and radio drama, produces radio jingles, and provides IVR content for companies, brands, and organizations. Let's talk about the triple threat. With over 15 years in the voiceover industry, she has worked for a myriad of ad agencies, production houses, and clients locally and internationally, amongst which are Insight Communications, DDB, McCann, Centerspread, FCMB, Saatchi, and a host of other clients. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a very big and warm welcome to Miss Joy Ogbekene, who is also an executive for the Association of Voiceover Artists in Nigeria. So please welcome Ms. Joy Ogbekene.
Thank you very
Okay.
much. Very, very kind. God bless you.
Amen, and you too. Thank you for joining us. So let's just get right into it. But before I start to ask the questions, I want this to be a very interactive panel. I want it to be as interactive as possible. I know that some of you have some burning questions, and I'll be honest, some questions have already been answered when Eric was having his presentation. But if you still have burning questions, just drop them in the comments and then I will pick these questions on as we navigate the panel. So please, let's make this as interactive as possible. If you feel like you want to chip in something or contribute to the conversation, feel free to raise your hand or just leave a comment in the comment section and then we'll come to you. So let's begin. Thank you again, our amazing panelists, for joining us. And the first question will go to Joy Ogbekene, because I know that she's also an executive. So, and this question is basically for the benefit of those who are just joining us. If you could just give us a brief backstory into the AVOA card, the team that put it together and the work that went into it. Tell us the importance of this rate card and basically the backstory. Why do we have this card and why is it important? Over to you, Ms. Joy.
All right. Thank you so much, Annie. So it's really simple. It's simple, really. This rate card was brought out or produced to put some authenticity on the craft of voiceovers. You know, some clients have this saying, is it not just voiceovers?
Right.
When they say that it's a background for pricing, for giving, offering nonsense money. It's not just voiceovers. It's not just to enter the studio. It's not just, you understand? And for some clients that understand the business, not having this rate card meant that there were a lot of loopholes that they could exploit, they could use to exploit voice artists. Eric has really gone into detail about pricing, the duration. There is even, I don't know if Eric mentioned it, this geography. Like there was a time that a client came to me, not Nigerian anyway, and they said it's just West African. The voiceover was just going to be in West Africa. So they had a separate pricing for that. So this voiceover, this rate card, as you can see, is comprehensive. Probably not comprehensive enough, but much better than what AVOA had. And it's basically to bring seriousness, to bring seriousness to the craft. It's not just going to the studio, speak to a microphone, and then you're done with it. No. And also to let voice artists know, it's a guide, actually, like Eric said, it's a guide. It's not cast in stone. It's a guide. It shows the voiceover artist what to charge, how to charge, and all that. So this rate card was basically put out to help voiceover artists earn better remuneration, and bring seriousness to the craft of voiceovers. You understand? Because back then, before this rate card came out, a client would come to you and they would say, we're putting this on TV. You do the voiceover, they pay you for TV, and then you see it on social media. You see it on YouTube. But who are you going to hold? Because you gave them, there is nothing. They will ask you, what they would ask you, why are you charging us for YouTube? Didn't we pay you? Is it not the same thing? So by the time you carry this rate card and say, this is, if you're not very knowledgeable, or you do not really know how to bargain and all that, you can bring out this rate card and say, see, this is it, this is how it is, this is what it should be, and all that. So who's laughing? So basically is to help the voice, like we brought this to help the voice artists to do better, you understand, with remuneration and all that. So I hope that answered that question.
Oh, yes, it does. And it sort of leads me to a part B of the question that I asked initially. And this question is about updates, right? The rate card has been released for over a year now, or close to 2 years, if I recall correctly. And in that time, we have seen the prices of goods and services skyrocket. You know, things have astronomically increased in prices. How do we factor in, economic challenges like inflation into this, is there any plan of AVOA to update rates? Or
Oh,
should we just take this as a minimum standard and just say, okay, yeah, that's what AVOA said. They just said, don't go below this. We can charge as high as we want. Or is this something that would there be regular updates?
oh, there'll be updates, but for
Okay.
now, the minimum. It's the minimum. So it means that you can decide, and there are voice artists in this country who do not charge 100,000 naira for radio. They charge
Right.
way above 100,000 naira. So it's the minimum. So you
Right.
can charge 200,000 naira. It's your
Okay.
prerogative, but it's the
Okay.
minimum. But yes, there will be plans. We talked about it even at the time we were putting this rate card together, that there will be plans to update the card from time to time.
Okay. Okay.
However,
Amazing.
artists should treat it as the barest minimum.
Minimum. Okay, excellent. Thank you so much for saying that. And it sort of leads me to King E now. Seeing as this question I'm about to ask has to do with education. And Joy, you touched on that because you talked about clients not being well educated on voiceovers, our services, usage, buyouts, and things like that. So King E, what strategies do you think that voiceover talents can use to explain the value of our services to clients who are unfamiliar with industry standards? How can we as talents deploy this rates card, deploy these rates and things like usage fee, licensing, royalties if possible? How do we explain this to clients who are not aware of these standards? How do you think that talent should navigate that?
All right. Thank you so much. Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we
Hello?
can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Hey, Eniola, how are you now? It's good to see
I'm
you.
good.
Okay. Thank you all for being here and this is an opportunity, and I consider it a privilege to share my opinion on this particular matter. Okay. Now, the first thing I wanted to say is that one of the things, this is outside your question. Before I answer your question, I think that if we have speakers on board, we should do well to read their real profiles. Say for me now, you read that I've been in the industry for 10 years. This is my 14th year. So you
Oh,
took
I said
away 4
over.
years.
Oh, I said over.
You
My
understand?
apologies, but I said over.
Okay, right. I
I said
wanted to
over.
just say that, but
Okay,
not
my
a
apologies.
problem. When it comes to educating your clients, the first thing that we want to ask ourselves is, do we really know what we need to tell, right? Our clients, as it were, okay? Do we know what is available? Do we know that you can get residual income? Do you know what you are supposed to be earning, right? But if we talk about education generally, it is just to tell. Okay. One thing that we do as voice actors is that we feel somewhere in our minds that clients are supposed to know. Okay. And that is very valid because we look at it as a business, which makes total sense. But we also have to understand what kind of business is it. It is the creative industry, is the creative space. And as much as possible, we need to understand that the creative space is a very flexible space. All right. And the tendency that when you have a product or you're selling a product, your client has an idea of how much it is supposed to cost when they have never come in contact with that product is very slim. So we have to be open to sharing what we know and being able to, be open-minded around it. Instead of telling our clients or expecting that they know, we're very open to saying, okay, we can walk them through every step. Definitely, it won't be easy because a lot of clients, even when they know they still do not want to pay. All right, that now opens us to several other questions that surround, when you're talking to your client. But one of the ways, of course, is to show as against telling. How do you show? How do you tell this person that this and this are what goes through, that going to or into the work that I do? One of the ways is we have social media right now, to tell our clients what kind of content do we put out, right? What is it that this is our work? There's one. Yes, last night I was still having a conversation with a client who was offering a particular figure. And the truth is, the person wasn't even asking me to do the work, because sometimes I get clients who want to use female voices or want particular voices and all that, right? But it's my responsibility to say this amount that you're trying to give us doesn't make sense, or it hurts the industry. Okay, so there's that personal education, that personal conversation with your clients, which you have to also, go through or do, right? There's you just also knowing that your client might not be receptive, and doing it with love or doing it with some level of patience, right? Knowing that this is something that I need to educate this person on. And what if the person says no, right? Or the person is not interested? So we have to look at it from different angles, but then generally show the client, tell them there's social media, like I said, what kind of content do we put out? The industry in itself has changed drastically. It has moved. Some people know this, some people do not, all right? Moved in the sense that you have now the possibilities or the platforms to create your content and show the entire world that this is what I do, this is what I'm about. Behind the scenes, how the recording process goes, the actual work that goes into it. And it is not a one-day thing. It's something that you continue to do over and over, all right? And the perception of your client is very important, because no matter what you think about your industry or how much you're supposed to be paid, if the client feels, if the client does not feel that you should be paid that amount, you can talk from now till tomorrow and nothing is going to happen. So education is very important. And another way to also educate or make sure that clients adhere to some of these prices are, this is what a lot of people don't like to hear, but if we don't have bodies or associations that make this a big deal, we'll continue to sing the same story, because individuals will charge the prices that they want to charge, and the industry will remain what it is, right? And the truth is that we may never be able to entirely change it, but it can be better and we can do more. All right, there's more to talk about. I'm sure the other questions will come. Let me just leave it there for now. Thank you so much.
Okay, King E, thank you so much. That was a very robust response. And I think we'd just like to hear from Miss Chioma BBB right now. Is she in the house? Is she in the room?
I'm right here. Can you hear me
Okay,
clearly?
amazing.
Can you hear
Nice
me
to see
clearly
you.
now?
Yes, we can
So
hear
you
you
have to forgive
clearly.
me. I'm using two phones because the network is crazy. So there's another phone I'm waiting. If this one goes crazy, I just switch. So I'm carrying this one around. What do you
Okay.
want to
No
hear?
worries
You
at
have to
all.
ask direct questions.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, this question, it might seem like it's a no-brainer, but for the purpose of this conversation, in your opinion, what would you say is the implication of setting lower rates or underpricing your services as a voiceover artist? And I think, like I said, it might seem like it's a no-brainer, but we have close to 100 people in this room here, different people at different levels in their career. Some people have the right information, others, they're just hearing some of these things for the very first time. So because of that, and for the purpose of education, what would you say is the implication of setting lower rates than usual or underpricing your services as a voiceover artist just because you want to get the job?
Ah, wow. Big question, because it would depend on, again, I do say this, and I say it with my full chest, because I say that at the beginning of the journey, you might not know your value. So it's okay to not, go by this is the premium rate, because you are not premium yet. That's the truth. It's okay to do that. However, some people are so talented and so good and can pick up very quickly. And if you can, and if you can fight for the premium rate, then please go ahead. I would also say this, and Eric did mention that as well. If you are not in these central locations like Lagos, Abuja, central locations where, voiceover artistry is big, and you're not working for major clients and talking about the brands themselves and things like that, you might struggle with pricing. So if you're working for a local business in your area, in your state, you might not be able to give them the standard rates, because again, it is standard rates. There's a reason it's that's the premium, that's the standard rate. So consider that in your dealings, so that you're not misled, or so that you're not carried away and lose business because you don't know, where you should be fighting for pricing and where you shouldn't. Having said that, the downside of underpricing yourself would be that when you're ready to upgrade yourself, the client is not ready to budge. Because you know what? You've been doing it for us at this rate, so let's keep going. And if you wouldn't, I will get somebody else to do it at a low rate. So they'll keep recycling these people that are going to do it at cheap rates until. And guess what? There will always be people that want to do it at cheap rates. One, because they don't know their value. Two, because they don't even understand the value of the work itself, among other things. So I would say the downside is you might never be given the respect that you are deserving of as a voiceover artist. And if you start that way, be ready to carry on that way, because clients will take advantage as much as they can until they can't. So you don't want to do that. Having said that, like I said, pricing, and I think that it was Eric has said that as well. When you get to a certain level, you will know how to even price beyond what the premium rate is according to AVOA. You will know where you are at. Some people grow faster than others, and some struggle with that growth, and that is true. I'm going to also mention one thing, which is the fact that if you don't know who your client is, you might undercharge them. So these are the rates, right? But if I'm working for an oil company, I'm sorry, I'm not going to put those rates. So it's as you grow, you would understand. You should also know that with time, you would learn that you are not everybody's cup of tea. Not everybody's your client. So know when to walk away, know when to respect yourself and step back, know when to say, oh, no, thank you. I understand what you have to pay, but I can't, in good conscience do that. So it's okay. You can get someone else to do it, but we can always work together tomorrow. Don't think that, oh, if I lose this opportunity, they'll never come back. Sometimes the respect that you're going to get is by walking away. That's the way you're going to tell them that I am not here selling pepper and tomatoes. So know that with time, there will also be, I would say as well, and this I mentioned this when I do trainings, with your branding of yourself, because you need to brand yourself as a voiceover artist. And as you keep branding, if you get to a certain level, you will find out that even with all the money they want to pay, there are certain clients you should not be branding yourself with. So know when that time is. We all need money, yes, but make sure that your money is gotten and you can eat it with full chest. That, you know what, this was, I am happy that I did this and I got this bit of money. I don't know if that answers your question. Absolutely. I'm here for more questions.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Absolutely. And thank you so much for saying that. And I also thank you for touching on the subject of branding, which I think Eric also mentioned when he said if Segun Arinze walks into a room, he's definitely not going to be charging the minimum standards, because he's been able to build experience and his brand over the years. He is a known name, a premium name, and the same thing can be applied for voiceover artists, no matter the level that you are at. Brand yourself, project your value. And I think it's really important that you mention that. And thank you for telling us about, the danger of underpricing your services as a voiceover talent. But before we move on from you, if you could just extend the conversation a little bit, what are the dangers for the industry when you underprice? Because sometimes you might think, oh, it's just you, oh, what's there? Let me just take the money and go. But it's dangerous because there could be a ripple effect when we have not one person, we have tens and hundreds of people who consistently are underpricing and undercharging. What is the implication of that going to be on our industry?
Okay, so my light is gone out, so forgive the darkness.
Oh,
The
sorry.
the side effects, I will call it, the ripple effect of doing this is that, look, at the end of the day, some people are doing this business. This is their primary assignment. This is all they do for a living. And you're going to literally bastardize their work. Also, I would hope that if you're coming into this, because this is not just a fun sport. This is a business we're running. It's a business for us. And if it's not a business for you, you might want to just step away and not call yourself a voiceover artist. Do things for free for people and tell them that you are doing it for fun. But if you're going to charge people, then you have officially made it a business of yours. And we don't want that business. We want people who are willing to dedicate themselves and also get the dividends of the work that they do. Some of us I've been here for well over 26 years. And I don't want to I want to grow old doing voiceover because it's my happy place. But it's also a business that I want to keep running and making money from. What you're going to do is basically undervalue the work that we do. And I hear, just like Joy was saying, some people say it's not just voiceover. You have not done voiceover if you have, like, there are cases where you're done voicing and your sides hurt. Your throat is your office. It's sometimes gruesome because you are able to take up a role and you're supposed to be screaming like a crazy person in a script. That is work. If it was just voiceover, everybody would be doing it. Everybody cannot do it because it takes skill, it takes talent, it takes learning, it takes owning. So we can't, and all of those things don't come cheap. Even if you are watching YouTube to grow, to learn, you need to know they are spending data on that YouTube. So that in itself, you are spending money. So spend money and then make money. Make it make sense. It just doesn't make any sense that at the end of the day, you will undervalue yourself and it has a ripple effect on everybody else. Well, as many people as let it. And the more some of us pick it up and fight for what is right, you have come this far. Even if you charge 20K right now, you are charging 20K because some of us fought for 20K back in the days. If you can charge 50K right now, you are charging 50K because some of us fought for 50K back in the days. So you can't come and then rubbish all the work that has been done. Ambrose gave I remember 1.5, 3,000, 3.5, we got to 15,000, to 20,000, to 30,000. For the longest time, it was 40,000 until this uplift. So we really have done a lot of work. Don't come rubbish our work. If you don't want to do this as a business, do it for free for people and tell them that this is your hobby. We're not going to hold this against you, but don't come and say you are a voiceover artist because you're not. You're just having fun.
Amazing. This is a no holds barred conversation, and we can see it's getting very hot here. We need to have these conversations. It's really, really important. And I like that people are not holding back. The OGs, the veterans, and everyone in the room, everyone is speaking up. This is a very important conversation. When Tcode and I were speaking just before this session started, he talks about how he put out a video and a couple of other artists also put out a video talking about the rates, and he felt that it was a strict, right? And there was no nuance. So we decided, you know what, we're going to bring in some nuances into the entire conversation. And I think Chioma BBB already introduced some when she talked about when you're doing voiceovers in a region that is not very commercial, maybe some states that are not very commercial, you might want to look at your rate. But there is really no excuse where you are in commercial cities and you tell yourself that this is a career that you're doing or this is a job that you're doing, and you consistently undercharge, underprice your services. You're not only damaging yourself, your reputation, your brand, but you're also damaging the reputation and the brand of the industry as a whole. And you're giving other professional artists a lot of work to do, because the time that they would have spent negotiating higher fees, they would spend convincing clients that, it's not just to talk. What we're doing here is an actual job, right? So underpricing services is dangerous, not just for individuals, but the entire industry as a whole. And thank you, Chioma, for just, expanding on that conversation. I see a hand over there, and I see people saying, well said. I see people saying, I love it. People are giving feedback in the comments. Please keep the feedback coming, and also keep your questions and your comments coming if you do have any. Okay, Tcode says that Ahmed Olalekan is in the room, so you're very welcome, Mr. Ahmed Olalekan. But at this point, I want to open up the floor. If you do have any question or burning concerns or comments to add to the conversation, please feel free to raise your hand in the chat, and then I'll bring you up, right? Okay, Mr. Ahmed, I have a question here for you. The AVOA rate talks about charging in the Nigerian context. And let's be honest, yes, we need that for the Nigerian context, because I believe you can earn a viable living or viable earn just by working in the Nigerian market. But we see that a lot of freelancers and a lot of voiceover artists today are playing in the international space and the international market. So this question is for Mr. Ahmed Olalekan. The rate card that we have right now, how can we marry that? And, you know, how can we marry that and strike a balance with charging clients internationally? So do we use the AVOA rate card as a guide? Do we discard it and and pick up international rate guides like the GVAA rate guide? What do we do? We marry those two rate cards, the Nigerian rate card, the AVOA rate card, pardon me, and international rate cards to set our rates and our prices? Or is it that it doesn't concern AVOA when you're freelancing from Nigeria?
Hello, guys. Sorry, I'm late, Jared. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Can you hear
clearly.
me?
Yes, clearly. Welcome.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, everyone. Good evening. I just joined a couple of minutes ago, and I like it. I like the vibe that we're getting in the industry. So, about that question, Nigeria is Nigeria. That's the truth. The international space, is the international space. I don't think it will be appropriate to do Nigerian jobs based on the way we charge for the international clients, because there are two different turfs. Apart from voiceovers in any space, the moment there's this about cheap labor in Africa, whether or not we like it. It plays everywhere in every space. So I won't say because I did a job for an American company and they paid me $1,000, then they should pay $1,000 in Nigeria. That's a no-no. Anybody who does that, you're not talking reality. I can't also say because the AVOA rate is 150,000 naira for the least audio, then outside they should pay me 150,000. There are two different spaces. So if you're playing on the spaces, if you're playing on the international turf, I think as a voice talent, you should understand what happens there, what the pricing is, the value you're bringing in is, and operate based on those parameters. If you're operating in Nigeria, the same thing, you understand the space. But one thing I believe in all of this conversation is that we need to, when we have conversations like this, we need to have representatives of the agency with us. Yes, it's a good move. I like it. I was to draw the attention of AVOA and Voice of Tcode and the team. I was to draw their attention to it. We need to have the agencies because they still play a very, very pivotal role as long as voiceovers are concerned. Yes, technology has made it easy for some people to reach out to clients directly. Clients can reach out to some talents directly and have conversations based on, their negotiating power. But that notwithstanding, the agencies still play a major role. And for me, for like 2 years now, I've decided I don't work with agencies anymore. But the last time I did a job for the agency, even after the emergence of the AVOA rate, they were still paying below the AVOA rates. The agencies still pay you. I don't know if anybody has a different explanation, but at least if we need to count three agencies in Lagos, in Nigeria today, we count those agencies. They still pay that rates. They still paid it like a job I did sometime last year. I'll say that was one of the last jobs I did with them. They still paid the old rate. And I'm like, when are you going to effect? When are you guys planning on effecting the new AVOA rates? So for us to move in these conversations, we need to have these guys on board because they still pay those things. They pay it. The only time it comes different is when the client insists and tells you, we want a particular voice. This is the voice we want. And that way, the moment I just get an inclination that the client wants my voice, I give you my bill. Okay, if you can't pay my bill, you move. So that's what I think, basically. Back to your question, on the international turf, let's operate that way. On the local turf, let's operate that way. Let's just understand how the pricing works on both platforms, and work that way, considering the value we're bringing in.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That was very robust. So if I'm hearing you correctly, when in Rome, behave like the Romans. So if you're playing on the international turf, find out what the standards are over there and charge accordingly. If you're operating on the local turf in Nigeria, your AVOA rate guide is a guide for you to charge. And I think it's really important because that was one of the questions that I wrote down when you talked about bringing in advertising agencies into these conversations. And I think it's going to lead me to a question for Joy Ogbekene, seeing as she's an executive. And the question is, what is AVOA doing to educate the agencies? What Ahmed said is what a lot of voiceover artists are currently doing. They're just deciding that they're not going to work with Nigerian agencies anymore. But not everybody can afford to do that. So how do we get the agencies who have been operating for many years and many decades, paying what they've been paying, how do we get them to come on board? What kind of conversations do we need to be having with them? Because that's the only way that we'll grow as an industry. Everyone is going to try to book jobs internationally, reach out to clients directly. But let's be honest, the bulk of the jobs that we do in Nigeria currently for voiceover artists, some of them come from these agencies. So how do we maintain standards across board? What can AVOA do to help voiceover talents right now? Because I think we need to declare a zero tolerance, in my opinion, but I'll yield the floor to the experts. Joy, please take it away. You're muted, Joy.
Yeah, to be honest, some of these agencies can be incorrigible with this pricing thing. Like I wrote it there, I said this battle with rates happens every time AVOA increases rates. They just don't want to go beyond their comfort zone, right? For them. And AVOA has had meetings. We've had meetings. We've gone to these agencies. I think the last time we had a meeting with one of the agencies, top agencies in Nigeria, and that particular agency started paying the new rates. And we've gone to some other agencies, but some just refuse to adhere. So at the end of the day, what AVOA tells its members is, look, we've done this, it's now left for you. Don't work for these people. If you work for them, you're on your own. Because I've also noticed that these agencies that refuse to pay the rates also are terrible with timing. Like they can owe you for 1 year. They can not, what is 1 year? They can owe you for 2 years. They pay you small money or they pay you small money and they will not pay you on time. So at the end of the day, AVOA is sensitizing these agencies. We are writing to them, we're having meetings to them. But ultimately, like Lekon said, he's just stopped. And I think I had a conversation with Mr. Ambrose too, and he's told how many, I'm not working for you guys again. So at the end of the day, it's left for the voiceover artists to know that, look, if I keep working for this agency, they're going to keep paying this amount. Am I comfortable with this amount? And let me tell you one thing about these agencies. There are some voices that they cannot do this with. When they want a particular voice, let me mention, okay, let's say they want Afemikhe because he's a brand. They will not do what they do with him. They will pay his money and pay extra. And Mr. Afemikhe will not leave his house until he sees his money complete. So at the end of the day, it's left for you to put value on yourself. If you want to keep working for agencies that are notorious for not wanting to pay, it's on you. But for AVOA, we do our own part. We have meetings, we write to them, we let them know that this is the new rate, we sensitize them. But eventually, it's left for voiceover artists, even if a bulk of the jobs come from them. Like I remember there was one time an agency reached out and they said they can only afford, they said this, less than the barest minimum, like it's less than 100,000. That's what I just told them, please, I can't. Go meet somebody else. But I always tell voice artists, be so good at what you do that you cannot be ignored. Be so good at what you do that when you set the standard, they will come for you and they will pay. So that's what AVOA has been doing. AVOA has been having meetings, but ultimately it's left for the voiceover artists to work or not to work for them. It's at the discretion of the voiceover artist. But at AVOA, we do our own parts.
Wow, that's amazing. It's very amazing to hear the role that AVOA has been playing in enforcing the minimum standards. But the bulk is back at us as voiceover talents to amplify our value, build our own brands, and take a stand. These are my rates. You're going to pay that. You're going to pay my usage fee. You're going to license this voice, and that's it. So if we have more people who are able to demand for what they think or what they believe is their value and what is right, then I think that agencies would start to get the notice that, it's not business as usual. But I'll just say AVOA should please continue to enforce these things. Just enforce standards, have conversations, because we've had so many conversations targeted at voiceover artists. Voiceover artists need to do this, talents need to do that. But I think it's also important that we enforce some of these rules and laws. I wish we had, better laws enforced in Nigeria, but I mean, we're where we are. So, voice artists, please do your own part, take a stand, check the rate guide, make sure that you're not going below minimum standards, just so that our industry will continue to grow. So thank you, Joy, for that. At this point, again, if you have any questions or contributions, please feel free to chip in, because I'm going to be taking last words from all the panelists now before hand over to... Okay, please go ahead, Kingi.
Yeah, before last words, Eniola, thank you so much for holding this down. And to everyone that has contributed, kudos to you all. So there's a perspective I've been exploring, and those I'll say three perspectives. First, the talent, okay, and secondly, we can say the economic situation, and thirdly, we can say the client or the person who is paying the bulk, right? Now, all of this can affect how much you charge as a voiceover artist. Now, the first one is you who is a voice actor. Do you know what you want to charge? Are you able to defend or say? So first things you must know. And secondly, you must be willing to stand by it. Now, the second one is economic situation. How does this affect the amount that can be paid to you as a voiceover artist? You can also look at that in two ways. One, you can say, oh, because of the economic situation, people will not be able to pay, let people just eat and all of that. I mean, you can give all of those excuses, but I'll tell you for free that despite the economic situation, there are still budgets for certain things. And some of these clients know it, and the budgets have been allocated. Even when they play the card of economic situation, it does not mean that the money is not there somewhere that is supposed to be paid to you, a standard fee. Now, as a voiceover artist, you can now decide to say, oh, I want to play the economic situation. They don't have the money, because you are unsure of yourself and what you're supposed to charge. Just bring the money, because realistically now, people are hungry. There's hunger in the land. Okay. So some people might just say, oh, let me just get this work, let me just get this small money and all of that. You're doing yourself a disservice, because there is a budget that can be paid for that amount, that work that you're about to do, that is more than what you are trying to collect. Secondly, you are doing the industry a disservice, because, every other person is affected, after a while. All right. Now there's the part of the structure, all right, policies and, covers, okay, that will say, okay, this is covering the talent or the industry or the markets that we're trying to build. Now, what will this do? This would also help the work of the voiceover actor who is willing to stand by their price or by industry standards, because the client is a politician. Let's look at it that way. The client will look at clients or agencies now. Okay, is a politician. They are looking for ways to reduce every amount of money to make more profit. All right. So if they look at, they'll say, oh, let's play the card of economic situation. There is no money. Oh, this regime is not helping us. Oh, and they're having conversations with you, and they're to your what you want to do. They are listening closely to you to sense whether you're interested in this job or you're desperate. They are playing all their cards. And they're also looking at the part where there are no agencies or anybody that is going to ask me no matter whatever money I pay. And because of that, I can also play that card. So they are somewhere they know. Now they need your service. That's the truth. Don't let anybody deceive you saying, oh, they really don't need you and blah, blah, blah. They need it. That is why they are coming to you. Okay. Yes, you as a voiceover artist, you have to be able to build your brand to a point where, one, you are not desperate. If they say they are not giving you that job, you are ready to walk away. Thirdly, you're building your thing and you're creating your own job if possible. Now, for structures and association that can help the work of the talent and entirely help the work of the industry, that is also very vital, because that can affect the entire system. No one is coming to help you. Let me just collect this money. The client knows that, oh, well, no one is going to ask me. There are no standards after all. Let us just pay whatever it is that we want to pay. And that's what the industry will continue to be. So whether we want to say it, we want to be truthful to ourselves, we want to beat around the bush, at the end of the day, it will affect everyone. All right. So one of the things that you want to do, even as a voiceover artist, if you let's assume that you're supposed to charge 500,000 or 200,000 for a particular project, and the client says, "Oh my God, there's no money. We really want to do this," and somewhere in your mind you're like, my gas don't finish. Oh my God, what am I going to do now? There's a trick to this is just trying to play safe. Give them an invoice with the original standard fee. This is the price. And I have given you a discount of 50K to accommodate 150. Now, what does that do? Realistically, I think that we have to be realistic to ourselves. It doesn't make you die and go out of business. Because for you to be a voiceover artist, you must be alive and function. For you to have a business, for you to sell your products, you must be in business. All right. So let's assume that's what you want to do, and you decide that, oh well, God, this faith that I'm holding, this faith is getting weak. Let me just collect this money. Send an invoice, have the standard fee written on there, okay? And then say, I have given you a discount of so and so amount, right? What does that do? It protects the people who would want to charge that original fee, and the client is not feeling like this is strange, okay? And also you are alive to keep going and hoping for better days ahead. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, King E, for that very passionate delivery. And I'm sure that we've learned something. And if we've taken a lot away from what you've said, but I want to highlight what you just said about invoicing. Even if you're offering discounts to a client, write the actual amount that you would have charged for that particular voiceover and put the amount for the discount there. After all, every invoice has the portion for discounts. So just add it there that this fee is discounted because of yada, yada, yada. But it also protects not just you, but it also protects other talent who would also want to charge the same standard fee. Thank you so much for that, King E, for sharing. At this point, I think I would like to invite the president of the AVOA, Mr. Segun Arinze. We're so happy to have you in this room. Please, you have the floor, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Good evening, sir.
I've been following the conversations, and I'm very impressed with all the contributors and all they had to say about voiceover and rate card and all that. If you understand this thing about rate card, it's not a today thing. It's been in the works for as long as I can remember when I started voiceovers way back in the 1980s. And then we didn't have anything like AVOA, but we had just a collection, a pool of vested interest in voiceovers who felt that they could push their costs. And then, of course, AVOA now came along, and then agencies now started exploiting and all that. I listened to all the conversations, like I said, interesting. What this has just told me now, I'm making a promise now, making a vow now that we've visited, before I say what I want to say, we have visited a lot of agencies. Myself and my vice president, we went to Extreme Ideas, we went to all the agencies, we spoke with them about this rate card, even to the extent of those that were being owed. Quite a number of voiceover talents were being owed, and the money was like, it was never going to happen. It was becoming very moribund that there were going to be bad debts here and there. But the truth be told is that some of us are also liable for this. We're also guilty of it. I had quite a number of people say that out of desperate, my gas is down, my children's school fees and all that. And if you stand your ground, yes, I make bold to say that one of the highlights of my career as a voiceover artist was when I earned 1 million naira. Not now, way back when Jonathan was running for president, and these white guys came in. They were the ones packaging Jonathan for his campaign, and I insisted I was going to take 1 million naira for my voiceovers, and they agreed. In fact, at the end of the day, I made more than 1 million naira because the cost of flying me over anywhere I was. If I was in Lagos, they'll come to meet me. If I was in Abuja, they will come anywhere I was. They'll fly me down to go and do the voiceover, and I made more than that. Now, what am I saying in essence is that I want to see a situation where I want to get the DG of ARCON, that's the Advertising Regulation Council of Nigeria, the DG, who I know. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can still hear you. We can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah, so I want to have open a discourse with Ifada Lapo, the DG of Arkan, and I'm also going to ask him that we get all the MDs. I don't want to play small. See, there's a saying: if you want to eat frog that has eggs. So I'm making it clear here now that I'm going to have Ifada Lapo and myself get all the MDs. I don't want to even play with creative directors. I want to deal with MDs directly and say, this is what I want for my voiceover talents people, my voiceover talent. If you're not paying it, then there'll be a problem. Let's find a way to sort this matter out. You can't be exploiting people. Look at somebody like the late James L. Jones. This is CNN. Till now, his children still enjoy from that. They do enjoy from it. I read something recently about Vincent Price, who did the voiceover for Michael Jackson on his album. And he was offered $20,000 as at that time, as against take a percentage of the royalties that come from this album, and he chose $20,000. Now imagine if he had agreed for percentage on the album, on the Thriller album of Michael Jackson, how much he would have been making by now. And James L. Jones is better off for it. We all know James L. Jones from Play the King in Coming to America. So why can't voiceover artists make money from their voiceover, from their talents? Why would I do a voiceover for one agency and the client changes his agency and they take my voice to the next agency without paying me? Why would anybody do that? I'll sue you from here to Cape Verde. So we need to begin to change our own narratives. We need to take these narratives into our hands and change our own narratives. It's not a question of if you get to Rome, what they do in Rome, you know. We've passed that level. The world has changed. Since after COVID-19, things have changed. We need to begin to re-strategize and change and let the narratives be ours. Let's control the narratives. Nobody tells me my story. I tell you my story. I know where I'm coming from. And so this is what I want to do for myself. And this is what I want to do. We need to leave something, a lasting legacy, so that tomorrow, when they ask you questions, what did you do? Did you fold your arms and were watching? No, it did so and so. And that's I'm president of AVOA does not mean that doesn't restrict me to not working for every other voiceover talent. Yes, I want every voiceover talent to be recognized and to be associated with AVOA. But this is a collective decision. This is a collective fight. And that's what I'm going to do. Whether you're a member of AVOA or not a member of AVOA, once you're a voiceover talent, we're going to fight for you. And that's what I've decided to do. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, sir. Everyone, please, if you could just leave a comment for Mr. President in the comment section. I just want to see Mr. President and your applause and your emojis, because this is the type of decisive action that we need. And Mr. President has already promised us that. So please let us appreciate Mr. Segun Arinze for this very passionate delivery that he has given us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us today, sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. There have been comments coming in, and Tcode, I think I would like to ask you at this point, how much time do we have? Because I really would like us to feel the pulse of the people. There are comments just popping in the chat box, and I think I'll just like to read some of them. And if anyone wants to contribute at this point in time, I would also open the floor to you. Just signify. Tcode, please feel free to jump in if you want to give any instructions,
No, it's
please.
a beautiful conversation so far, and you've been doing excellent.
Right.
Well, shout out to all of the contributors. I think the momentum is just right, and we can still extend this till about 8:30. So please
Okay.
go on.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Tcode. So yeah, I'm just going to pick a few comments from the comment section. Here, Eric Maximus says we need to escalate and call them out as well. Apart from that, cost of living and currency devaluation affect the differences in the market spaces. And this was the contribution to when we're talking about how current the rates are, to reflect, economic realities that we're currently facing. Again, Eric says that it's important to note that some of these agencies submit our rates, collect the said monies, but pay the old rates. This is a very, very important conversation. Someone here says the Grizzly says that maybe we should start blacklisting these agencies. I like that. This is just saying that they don't have the monopoly of blacklisting talent. We can also blacklist these agencies. Jamaldeen says that agencies are the coconut head on the local turf in this industry, and I think that's on a lighter note. Someone here has a question. Erega Messi, pardon me if I didn't pronounce that right, but it says, my question is, how can we have the agencies join in on this conversation? Because some or more of the voiceover jobs we get are from the agencies. Oh, I think that's already been answered. And thank you, Eric, for also answering that in the comments. Ivy King says, my question is, what courses would you recommend for an aspiring voiceover artist to take before starting their career? So in Nigeria, we have training schools, we have Voiceover Academy, we have Voiceover Workshop. We also have courses by AVOA, I believe. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer now. AVOA is open for every voiceover talent to join. You also take webinars like this that is planned by AVOA. So be on the lookout for some of those institutions that I mentioned. And, a little research as well will go a long way in bringing out the organizations that offer training in Nigeria. Felicia says, thank you so much for this insightful event. Though I joined late, would appreciate if a recording will be made available. Okay, I think Tcode will communicate that to us. Okay, so this is a very interesting one. Victoria Ugunremi says that if there could be a way to sensitize the public, and not just only within agencies and talent, but the public on the importance of voiceovers. I still have people asking me what voiceover means, no matter how many times I post about voiceovers. If there could be a way, that would really be great. I'm not sure if I make sense. Oh, you make a lot of sense. And I don't know if someone, on the panel would just like to answer this question. Excuse me.
Hello.
Oh,
Hello.
please go ahead. Oh, please go ahead, sir.
That's a very funny question. What the voice was. You will not believe that I was in a conversation with the governor of Lagos State, Sanwo-Olu, and he said, "What's voiceover?" And I started explaining what voiceover talents do. A lot of them don't understand. I said, the
Wow.
campaign that you do, your campaign, and you're shouting and screaming, it's the voiceover talent that does it. Because you're not going to come out and come across that chapter voiceover reading your voice. So that brings us to that question that we need to sensitize people about what the voiceovers do. Who are these voiceover talents? And I want to say a very big thank you to Tcode for doing this, Voiceverse for doing this. Tcode is also at the behest of what we're doing in a couple of months from now. In the next next 60 to 80 days from now. It's called the Voicefest, 1,000 voices, because we need to begin to creep into the consciousness of society and let them understand it's not just about acting, it's not just about modeling and all that, or doing broadcast. Who is a voiceover talent? We need to begin to signpost it. We need to begin to signpost it and let everybody know, bring it to everybody's face. Even in your dreams, you know who a voiceover talent is. We need to begin to earn that respect. And so once you earn that respect as a voiceover talent, people understand it. And that's supposed to, well, our own version of James L. Jones, probably, I'm not saying, is Femi Showolu. So we need to begin to let people understand that, listen, these are the talents. No matter what your age is, let's get them. Do you know we don't even have children who even do voiceovers? We don't have a young voiceover talents. So some of them are very timid. So the minute we begin to break into all this and make it go viral, make it strengthen, let people know these are the functions. This is what the voiceover talents can do.
The creative business. God, they're gonna make.
Please continue, sir. She's been muted.
No, I'm done. I'm done. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for saying that. That's really important. And I think that just you highlighted the importance of the creator economy and people creating content, creating awareness, sensitizing the masses on what voiceover is, who we are as talent, and the value that we bring to, not just entertainment, to education, to different industries. Our job cuts across industries. And I think the onus lies on us as voiceover talents. The days of just hiding away in our booth or hiding away in the studio is completely over. You have to start putting yourself out there, sharing your process, sharing your work, sharing what you do, and just letting people discover that, oh, okay, these people exist. I could start mentioning names of people who are operating in the creator space. You see doctors who have brought education beyond the four walls of the hospitals. We see lawyers who are creating fun, educating, entertaining content outside of the courtroom and bringing it out there online. We also need to start to do these same things as voiceover artists. I mean, shout out to AVOA, shout out to all the educational institutions that are currently providing valuable education and information on voiceovers, but we still need to do more and we have to do it together. So thank you for highlighting that. There's so many questions in the comments, and I think that if we keep taking them, we might not end this. So what I want you to do for me is, if you see a question in the comments that you think you can answer, please pop in a response for the person who has asked that question. But before I round off, I've had a comment here from Mr. Shobo, the brand master. He's been trying to drop a message and he sent that to me. So permit me to just read that out. He says that, I believe it is time to help people understand that this work is beyond advertising. There are so many other genres that have not been explored. While I understand that advertising might be the lowest hanging fruit to get into the industry, we must ensure that the other genres are well pushed. In terms of rates, here's my take. AVOA has done a fantastic job, particularly with the memo, but we must also note the following. Not everyone who attempts to do voiceover is a professional voiceover artist. Here's a breakdown. We have the accidental voice talents, those who have discovered that they are talented and just believe that they're the next thing after after sliced bread. We have the amateur voice talents. These ones have passion, may not be necessarily talented, but they're willing to develop. Then we have the certified voice talents, those who are well trained, some experience, but don't earn a living from it. And finally, we have the professional voice talents. These people make money with this for a living. This is their bread and butter. And he ended that by saying that there's so much to say, but he'll just stop for now. And I think that that was just a small, that was just a small masterclass. And I hope that we're able to take away something from that. At this point, I think I'd like to open the floor to the Vice President of AVOA. Again, thank you so much, Mr. Shegun, for just passionately sharing with us today. Yes, ma'am.
Eniola, sorry to interrupt you. Peluski has had
Okay.
her hand raised for a while. Maybe we should take her question since she's
Oh,
up there.
who is that?
Peluski.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Peluski has had her hand raised for a while. Do you want to take her question?
Oh, okay. So my apologies. I'll come to that since I'm already introducing the Vice President. But thank you for bringing that to my attention. I didn't see. Thank you so much. So I just want to open the floor to the Vice President of AVOA. You have the floor, sir. We would like to hear from you again. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Eniola, and thank you, all the panelists, starting from Eric Maximus, our own guy, who has really done justice to the rate card. I really appreciate that, and I believe most of us do. It's like we just pushed out the rate card, but this is a doctor that is kind of doing his surgery and analyzing it. And believe me, it's been quite educating to even some of us that participated in bringing it forth. So, and the panel spoke extensively about, well, I'm actually just talking because, not because I have something to say, but because I have to say something, because it took a while for the president to come on, and I don't want to just go ahead of my organ and say something. So I don't know whether it's even right that I'm speaking after him. I think he should have the last word, but having opened the floor, I felt I have to say something too. Talking about rates, you see, one thing I know, in all spheres of life, we have people you consider critical success and commercial failure. And then we have people in rare cases that are commercial failures and critical success. So there is no way, it's not an all-commerce affair. No matter, even in a classroom, we've all gone through this. Some are still better. It's not like saying it's an Orwellian world, but then we are not equally gifted. What is just important is continuing training. What we're doing here, congratulations again, Tcode. What we're doing here is actually the way to go. And I believe if we can bring all this energy together to bring about trainings like what AVOA is actually pushing for now, called the Voiceverse, 1,000 voices. And we can have many trainings like that. I'm sure, I know King E is doing a lot in that regard. Tcode is doing, everybody in this panel is doing his little bit, but if we can bring all our energy together, and there are artists who are just not businessmen. They are very good at their crafts, but when it comes to business, believe me, they are down there. They're just on just next to zero. So, and there are people who are good businessmen who know how to package well, but they struggle with delivery when it comes to the real work. And I'm sure if we can have trainings for all this, the technical aspect of this job, the business aspect of this job, over time, we know it's not an all-commerce affair. In every field, there are average Joes. But then if we keep raising the bar, I believe we'll have more people scaling the bar. And at the end of the day, in our twilight, or even when we finally retire, because every good thing comes to an end, whether we like it or not, the only thing that will give us that everlasting happiness is to look back and say, yes, we have created people better than us. We have left the industry better than we met it. And I believe that this webinar, particularly this webinar, is pivotal to this recognition. So going forward, if we put our energies together, I believe at Voiceverse we should be able to do that. But even before Voiceverse, we should be having these robust conversations amongst ourselves and bring forth powerful training programs that will educate our members, that will make everyone, that will add quality, that will add value to every artist. I believe every artist, whether accidental or professional or amateurish, everyone has something to offer. It's left, some people cannot really discover where their talent lies. You have to help them discover it. Fine, accepted. People have to work on themselves. But then some people don't even know what they have until you show it to them. And it's just an open question. Life continues in this cycle. Once you answer one question, it throws up another question. This is just the way to go. We will have to keep raising the bar and get many more people scaling the bar. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hello.
Oh, hello, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Abdul, for that
Okay,
very
at
robust
a point,
summary.
At a point, I thought I was lost. I couldn't hear. Nobody could hear me.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, because I muted. We were actually listening to you. We heard
All
everything
right.
that you said, and we
Thank
sincerely
you so much.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
We heard
Thank you,
everything.
Eniola.
Thank you, sir, for your
Thank you.
time.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. So, thank you so much. Before I hand over to Tcode, this has been such a wonderful panel. And if you could just give a big round of applause in the comments or in the chat box to, first of all, to the president and the vice president of AVOA, a round of applause to Tcode as well of Voiceverse, a big round of applause to our panelists, to Eric Maximus, to King E, to Chioma BBB, to Joy Ogbekene, and to Ahmed Olalekan, to everyone, Mr. Ambrose as well, to everyone who has contributed to this fantastic conversation. Please, a big round of applause to all of them. We appreciate you taking time out. We're pushing 2 hours, 30 minutes of insightful, educating conversation. Thank you all for giving us your time. To comments. We have a queue of people just waiting to speak, but Tcode would navigate that for us. Thank you again, everyone. My name is Eniola Keshinro, and it's been such an honor navigating this panel and this conversation. It's bye for now.
Thank you
Over
so
to you,
much.
Tcode.
Thank you so much, Eniola. That was such a
Sorry,
session.
Tcode, for the little.
Okay.
Sorry for
All
the
right,
little
sir.
interruption, Tcode. I
Okay.
have to head to the mosque. I just couldn't go because I thought I could listen to the end.
Oh, no problem, sir.
Do
Thank you
I have
so
your
much.
permission to do that?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
sir. Yeah.
Thank you. No, it would be rude to just leave like that.
That's very
Thank you.
kind of you, sir. Very kind. All right, ladies and
Tcode,
gentlemen.
Tcode,
Yes. Yes.
I apologize, but I have to interrupt you a second time. I know
Yes.
this is unethical, but please.
Yeah.
Two things. Someone just asked a question about charging for script. Of course, you should charge for script. That's intellectual property without a question. If you don't charge for script, whoever is writing their script is getting paid. Why shouldn't you get paid? But the other thing I want to say is, it would be nice that after this conversation, we actually are going to get to see strategies, plans, the way forward to actually effect the changes so that this is not just another rounded, beautiful conversation that has no weight. And finally, I want to make a suggestion to AVOA. Since the rate card is beautiful, I love it. Can we get some kind of maybe speak to the lawyer behind AVOA to find a legal backing to push because it has to be more than coming to sit at the table. We're not begging them. We're letting them know that industry standard has changed. Get on board or stop using voiceover artists. So we need to find a proper like legal backing that supports what we're doing so that it holds water. And then there has to be something that an article, a document that says, okay, this is the strategy, this is the plan, this is the way forward. How are we going to do it? How do we, how do people come on board to help us in this journey? Or this is how we're going to effect the change in an order. I'm going to stop here because I know we don't have time. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Chioma. That was well said. I also spotted that comment, and I was gonna call one or someone or anybody to respond to that from the panel, the panelists. Well, first of all, I want to say a big thank you to Eniola for that amazing moderation of that particular panel session. She did very well, and yes, this conversation is so broad, so big that it even had the president of AVOA himself and the vice president, comment on it. And it has triggered a series of questions that I think it is only worthy for us to give responses to. There are questions, lots of them that we can't really take from the comments. Of course, we would stay all night here if we want to do that. But I am aware that certain people also want to speak, rather maybe make contributions or ask specific questions. So I'd like to have the following persons. First of all, let's hear from Peluski. So we'd have Peluski speak, and I was also aware that Jamaldeen was going to speak or say something. And finally, Mr. Sheon Shobo. If we can still take one or two after those people I have mentioned, I would let us know. But for now, let's have their contributions, or if it's comments or questions, it's welcomed. So, Sir, or Peluski. Okay, Peluski, it's your turn. I assume he's the lady now. You can unmute yourself. Your hand is raised, or if I guess you're not speaking anymore. Okay, then. So I'll just go to Mr. Ayola Muniz. You can have the floor now and make your contribution.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity given to me. Yes, I must give it to AVOA for the red card. It's really, really a wonderful job that they've done. I just want to chip us in that we need the government to come in at this time. What do I mean exactly? We have an arm that has been given to AVOA, or rather, yes, in the industry, advertising industry, that is Archon. If Archon does not come in to give us that support that is needed, the agencies won't take us as a serious association. So I just want to plead with the leadership of AVOA to do everything possible to get Archon, that's formerly APCON, involved so as to speak with the agencies. That's one. Number two, all agencies don't have the same budget. So how do we manage that? That's the question I have. And then the other one is just a contribution. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Your question is directed about to how do we manage the idea that agencies have different budgets, if I'm not mistaken. All right, thank you so much. Just for background, Mr. Ayola is also a member of AVOA, having been in this industry for over 20 years, I think, thereabout. Just acknowledging. Okay, so I would just have that noted down and take the next question. And then when we have these questions put together, we can have any of our panelists respond to them. So I know that...
Hello.
Oh, yeah, Peluski. Sorry,
Please.
I guess that's a nickname, but then please...
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I was distracted the other time you tried to talk to me. Sorry.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you're
yes.
well.
I actually want to thank everyone for coming on this kind of meeting, and I want to thank the organizers and everyone that is involved in this. I also want to thank the president for the encouragement. I want to thank everyone. Mine is actually kind of do I call it observation or something? And it has to do with challenges and experience of a growing voiceover artist, or anybody that wants to get involved in voiceover. The whole discussion and the whole idea what we've been talking about is about how we'll be able to charge, how we'll be able to, how we get our remuneration, the exact amount, what they're supposed to be paid, how they're supposed to get the right payment, the right fee, how we're supposed to be treated. But one thing comes to mind, And it has to do with the voiceover person himself, the person that is doing the voiceover himself, especially when that person is new in the business, when he or she is just coming up. And it's, I'm very sure quite a number of A-list voiceover artists can attest to this. I'm very sure while they were growing up, while they're trying to be on that first 5, level, their challenges and their hurdles, which sometimes makes it very difficult for them to say no, especially when they call you for jobs that are low, very, very low. There are some kind of jobs that they are way, way too low.
Okay.
You can't imagine when the normal rate for voiceover is 50K and somebody's trying to give you 10K. But do you know that in this present Nigerian situation, even before this, economic wahala, there are times in the life of a voiceover person that 10K is like he's getting 100K. I don't know if I'm making any sense here, but there are times in the life of a voiceover artist, even those that are made today, they one time or the other, they must have gotten themselves in situations that are, that they just need to instead of going to get money elsewhere. Now, this is where I'm going, not to take too much time.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
I think as a voiceover artist, even if you are there right now, you are among the top 5, I think you should begin to look for a side also. Do you get a kind of another source of income? So when you have another source of income and somebody calls you for a job that is way, way below your standard, it's not even below it, it's underneath your standard. And for me, you can easily tell them, no, I'm not going to do this.
All right.
Do you get?
All right.
So it becomes very easy for that person because he or she has another source of cash flow.
Okay.
These are the challenges that most voiceover persons face. And I personally, I faced it. Not until when I was able to find my feet and been able to say no to some jobs that are terrible for me to do. That's just my contribution.
All right. Thank you very much.
Everyone.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
All right, Eric,
sorry,
Tcode.
I'd like to jump in here before it gets out of hand. Peluski, I understand what you're going through, but you see, the thing is this: we did go through that, but we didn't cave in.
Wait.
We didn't cave in.
Know what I'm going through.
No, what you mentioned, as in what about going through about people reaching out to you and asking you to take certain jobs, and you're saying, "Oh, I look like big money." I can tell you for a fact, I went through it. Chioma went through it. King E went through it. Yeah. You see, you need to also understand certain things. When you know what you're in for, it helps you understand what you cannot do. Because you see, no matter how desperate it got, and I can tell you it was desperate, I didn't do it because I knew I'm in Nigerian. What you do it in Nigerian today is what happens tomorrow. I've been in Nigerian all my life. If you give people, see, let me explain this. If you make yourself pray, you will always be praying.
Not being a prey. It's unfortunate. I'm outside my home and my battery is almost gone. See, okay, let's take a look at it from somebody that is just coming into the business. Is probably you at least you're one of you, a veteran, you've been in age, quite a number of us and all that. Now see someone that is just coming into the business, maybe he or she has just spent 1 year, 2 years. And normal rate for a voiceover, let's say, is 50K. This person is a student. I remember when I started voiceover, I was in school. Do you get? But at that time,
I understand. Let's for the sake of the time, let's just speed up.
That time when I was in school, if someone should call me for a job of 10K, 20K, I can't even say no.
Okay. So I think I'll have to come in here, Peluski. Thank you so much. And so I can't let you continue because of time, but I do understand what your point is.
I
And
understand. I
yeah,
understand.
and I
So,
think that this matter has been somewhat addressed in previous sessions. I remember Chioma talking about sometimes your region can affect, sometimes even the level you are right now in the industry can affect how you charge for voiceovers. But very importantly, and I think this is where Eric is panning towards, that if you establish yourself, or if you determine that this is the career path you have chosen, that there are certain things to respect. And I just think that there are still more nuances to these issues. The situation can be different case by case. Sometimes relationships affect how you price, and sometimes maybe just certain situations that we can't even fathom right now. But the
I
fact
get the
is,
point,
standard
Ash,
is
but for me,
standard. Okay, thank
for
you.
me, I think
Thank.
is for me, I think it's more like getting something to support yourself
All
while the
right.
challenge is
Yeah,
coming.
and that's
In
a
that
valid
aspect, I
point
agree
as
with you.
well. Yeah, we
In
all
that
agree.
aspect, I agree with you. It's what we tell everybody. You don't jump into voiceovers full time from the very beginning. We say it to everyone. You
Yeah.
don't jump in full time into voiceovers. You grow into it. And that's my point. My point is that anybody who's taking that amount of money probably did not understand that concept. Something has to take care of you until you grow.
Eric, it's just the fact that times season comes and people get into issues and
Okay.
they just need to opt
It's not
out.
about times or season. Please, we're trying
Do
to
you
we're
get
trying
it?
to
All
we're
right.
trying to
So
All right.
elevate this
I think
issue. What you're doing is defending
let's
the
voice over
issue.
person. Let's have an
Okay.
alternative source of
So
income.
So I would have to say it here. I would have to say it here that we can't continue with this particular topic. But I think you both are making sense, and it's just the fact that you are correct in your own respect. And I don't think we are going against ourselves here. I think we're saying the same thing. There are times you can, take this amount, but there are times you should not take those amounts under, whatever circumstance. And it also helps to preserve the reputation and the prestige of our work. And I would also add this to this conversation, right? Because I remember telling one of our OGs, we were having a conversation, and I said, of course, yes. The reason why I would be very hard on the so-called, professionals who would go very low when it comes to pricing is that let's imagine that someone like Eric, for instance, says for whatever circumstance, it takes something as less as 30,000 naira or maybe even 50,000 naira. Some will consider that to be considerable, but Eric is a brand. And when he does that, it makes it super difficult for people who are just coming up to convince that kind of client that this is the standard in the industry. So with great power, they say, comes great responsibility. And that's why when you arise or ascend to a certain level, I don't think it's wise to, stoop low to collect certain prizes. And it also is backed up by what you said, saying that we can consider side hustles. That's fine, especially if you're not stable yet in the industry. Anyway, we've spent a lot of time, looking at that particular question, and thank you for asking. Yes, I don't know if Jamaldin is still going to ask his question because I was told that he has something to ask. If that is not going to happen, there was a question prior to this one with Sir Ayola Munis, who is also an OG, but he just wanted to, first of all, he added to the conversation talking about how there is a need for us to inform, sensitize ourselves better, and also have the government, be a part of this move. Someone also talked about lawyers before now. Now, this question is about agencies with different prices and how do we manage situations like that. I would want any of our panelists to respond to that. I know Chioma is still here, and Ahmed Olalekan with King E, and Eric as well is here. So any of the people who have been speaking to us so far, please, the floor is yours. Would love to hear your comments on this particular question. And while that is happening, you can feed yourself with information in the comment section. People are saying things and putting nuances to conversations that I think is really helpful. So who would like to help answer the question about agencies with different prices and how we can manage the situation as an industry? Eric, you want to say something? Chioma?
Okay, yeah. Let me quickly answer that. Yes, there are different categories of clients. You have big clients that can do nationals. You have smaller clients that can do only regional adverts. But one of the things I want to mention here, and I mentioned it even during my session, my time, and the brand master, that's Shobo, also mentioned it. There are different categories of, and there are also other categories of voiceover other than advertising. The only reason why we're making so much of a fuss on advertising is that about 70 to 80% of what is done in Nigeria is within the advertising sector, because a lot of production companies had not existed at the time. So even some of these agencies are doing stuff that are not even advertising related. Some of them are doing IVR. Some of them are doing documentaries on behalf of clients. They're acting as multi-purpose production companies. So that's the reason why, most focus today has been on advertising. But I have to emphasize that it's not only the advertising space that exists within the voiceover industry. I've mentioned so many others. We mentioned audio drama, we mentioned animation. They're not all advertising. So that being said, yes, there are clients who are not as big budgeted as the other ones are. However, it doesn't change the fact that whether they are big budget clients or small budget clients, they are working with agencies. Now, when any client decides to work with an agency, there's a minimum fee they pay. And that minimum fee is in the millions. It's not in the hundreds of thousands. It's in the millions. So when you factor in voiceover costs in whatever genre or category of voiceover, you realize that whether they are big clients or whether they are medium clients, these agencies, these clients can afford voiceover services, even to the highest degree. I have seen medium-sized clients pay more for voiceover services than national clients because they were trying to get as acknowledged as bigger clients that they ended up doing 5-6 promos within the year, when one big client would just do one promo because they are just doing a sustainability promotion. But the smaller ones are trying to do a lot of work, get us noticed. We're the new boys in town. Please, come to our business, And they're throwing out 7, 8, 9 campaigns within 1 year, when the big boys just do maybe like one major campaign and then, just forget about the rest of it. So you end up spending those, in quotes, small budgeted clients end up doing more work and spending more than the big boys. Yes, they might be doing stuff on the regional level, but regional is still not cheap, because these rates we're talking about are not rates for local markets. No, we're talking about regional and national markets. For you to be playing in that space, it means this rate card applies to all. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Eric. I believe that means that, or if I can interpret all that you've said, is that the rate cards should still be respected regardless, as long as it's an agency handling it for a big brand. Okay. Thank you for that answer. Okay, now, so we have a few minutes to spend on this particular call. And just before we go, there's just one question hanging that I can take, I think. Not me, but we can actually look at. This person, Oyelabi Team, says that what are the items my invoice should contain? I have heard items like usage fee, license fee, charge fee. What other things should an invoice contain? For instance, let's say I was asked to do a 20-minute YouTube script. What should my invoice contain? Thanks so much. Okay, I think we still have other people here. As much as I like to hear Eric, I also want any other panelists available to speak.
Your invoice should have whatever discussion and agreement that you and your client have. So if your client, in this case, you said you have a 20-minute YouTube script, your invoice should have YouTube script 20 minutes. If you guys agreed on per minute charges, it's 1 times 20, right? So your invoice would depend on what you have talked over with your client. But it must contain what job you're doing. It must contain the medium. So if this is radio, it should be clearly radio. If it's a TVC, it should be clearly TVC. If it's an IVR, it's clearly an IVR written on your invoice. It's important to put that. If you're giving them any discounts, that was, in fact, I wanted to, what's the name, King E? I owe you very, very cold bottle of water, mortuary standard. Because your invoice should have that percentage that says, oh, this is the discount I'm giving you. for reference, so that you know that's not my normal charge. The discount is just there for you to see. If what you are, depending on what you're using, they're using it for, what they're using it for, then you know what kind of license fee you're talking about, what kind of usage fee you're talking about, what is your charge, and how did you break down your charge? Which takes me to one thing. When I think the other thing is that we don't know how to sell or make our argument for our charges. When you say to someone, this is how much I charge, it shouldn't just end there. Show the value, the worth, the reason for which you're charging what you're charging. This is how much I charge, and this is why I charge that much. This is how much discount I can do for you because this is the standard charge. But I am using my personal discretion to take this, that discount, or give you this, that discount. I do agree, and sorry for chiming this in, but I feel like I need to. I do agree that yes, have other jobs, please, by all means. However, don't start what you can't finish. I said, when you're growing up, I did mention that when you're growing up, just starting in the industry, you might be able to do something. Sorry for a minute. You might be able to do something almost at free for someone, but understand that you're doing it for the experience and that your personal discretion. It's your choice to do that. However, as you encounter clients, don't keep settling. Every time you settle, they will come back for less even. And guess what? You will always need money. You will always have responsibilities. You will always be in that position where there's never enough money. I can bet the richest man still wants money, still needs money. So don't ever think, if you think that way, you will never give yourself any value or branding. I have had clients who have turned me, and I'm not talking about now, I'm talking about back then. There was a time where I said, I won't collect less than this. And they walked away. And guess what? After walking away for a while, they came back. You know why? Because you cannot contest my value. You cannot contest what I bring to the table. So if that's what you want to settle for, chip, and I say no, then, and you walk away, you'll be back, or someone better will have me. So if you don't if you don't think like that, you will keep settling for people and you will never be rich and you will never make money and you will never do good out of the business. It's like saying I have a doctorate degree and I have 5 friends that have doctorate degrees and they are all earning 2 million. But you know what? Just because I want to be working, let me collect 200,000. It's the same doctorate degree that you have. So don't settle for less because you think that, oh, they will go to another person. Let them. And if they keep going to another person, then step up your game and do your job better. Done speaking. Thank you for your time.
All right, let me just add to the invoicing bit. I think 2 things that are quite important to be there. The first one will be you have to definitely, very importantly, write how many edits you're going to do. Okay, make sure it's there so that because some clients can be very interesting. They will change the script at any time. They want to just mix certain funny edits and all of that, right? Say how much you're going to charge after 1 or 2 edits. Make sure it is written there. Sometimes we ignore these things because we just feel like they're not important, but they're important because when they are sending the second edit or the third one or changing an entire script, they know they are paying an amount because you have mentioned it in your conversation and you also added it to your invoice, all right? And the other thing that is also important that we don't talk about a lot or we don't talk about at all sometimes is VAT, value-added tax. It's important that you start considering these things because at some point you will start remitting your taxes and you have to collect it from somewhere to be able to remit or pay that tax, all right? But a lot of clients, and because of how dynamic our industry is, some clients will say, oh, we are not paying it. So there has to be that agreement beforehand. But it is important that if you should tell them that, okay, this is with the exemption, this particular charge or whatever we're discussing over the phone or over chat on WhatsApp is not inclusive of VAT, right? And then hear them out, all right? And if it is also, and one more thing, I think that you also want to add, if there's a usage, if there's a number of years or an amount of time they're supposed to use it, and you're able to have that conversation, I think that it is important. I did a job recently that I asked them, they had to ask me, and all of that. And I said, this is just a year. And after that year, you're going to pay so amount. And there was an agreement and a contract based on that. And it was part of the contract. All right. And sometimes you also want to just try. I know that a lot of the time we are not familiar with some of these terms or some of these conversations because we are in the creative space. It's not very easy if we're being truthful. All right. You grew up your entire life. You've been a creative. You want to do everything passionately. I had to work my way to be able to even have this conversation or even do some of these things. All right. And it is very understandable. But at some points, depending on how much growth you want to experience, you have to start learning these things, start having the conversations, even at very, very low levels. All right. Have conversations about tax, have conversations about how long do you want to use this, what platforms, okay? Let the narrative be there. Just write it. Let it be an agreement, something that says, this is our agreement. This is what I'm delivering to you. It's a 30-minute YouTube, and this is the only platform you're going to be using. It is for 1 year, and this is the amount, this is the VAT, this is the discount I've given you, this is my original fee, and this is what it is. This is the amount of time you're going to do your edits or all of that. If you change it, this is the amounts that you're going to pay for changing it XYZ number of times. And I think that if we're able to do that, you may be able to solve some problems. It might take some time, but we are all work in progress, and it makes sense to just constantly look at the positive side of things and how we can readjust, re-strategize, find our paths, even if it's not making sense, because these things are possible. And if we put our minds to it and are willing to work hard enough, we will be able to get them done. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, King E. Sorry, Tolu. It's
Okay.
Tcode. Sorry, forgive me. King E, I need to buy you juice now. You have upgraded to juice. Thank you. Thank you. But I want to talk about the edits that you mentioned. Very typically, you should, if you do a job, you ask all the necessary questions. What energy do you want and that. My suggestion, and this is a tip that I use, I give you what you want and I give you what I think might work with that script. So I give you like 2-3 different versions and you can pick the one that you want out of it. Now, I expect you, if you're coming back to me for correction, you're saying, oh, maybe I don't like the way this sounded, and that's your prerogative. Or I don't like the way that line went, or I would like this different energy. You come for one correction. When you come back for the second correction, if you're coming back on tone again, I'm going to give you, sometimes I give grace and say, okay, let's go back to what you want so that we can get it, because I'm not doing this again. Now, when it comes to adding words and, and editing the script, it is your prerogative to say, if you're adding anything on the script, yeah, I'm charging for it, whether it's 50% for correction or 50% for edit, whatever it is, because I expect that before you bring your original scripts to me, you have done all the editing that you need to do, and you have approved that script, which is why you're giving me to voice it. If you're making any changes on the script itself, you are paying me for making those changes, because that was not a problem with me. It was a problem from your end. However, again, your relationship with these clients will determine how low you want to go for them. Don't go too low. Again, don't abuse us. Thank you. But think about the fact that there should be room to say, oh, I don't like the way this sounded and all that. That is something that you need to edit for them in terms of sound. Once or twice at the maximum. And then after that, but it comes to editing of words and script, that is a problem they have. So they should be considering you should be considering charging them. And I tell you this because sometimes when you do that, they know that they cannot play with you. When you tell them I'm charging you for every time that you bring a new word, a new sentence or something of the sort, they get their acts right before they come to you, and they're not going to be messing with you. But if you don't and you keep giving them grace, okay, you will end up working for, they will take, in fact, if you're not careful, the first script you wrote that you voiced, they will keep it, and then the edits, they will keep it, and they'll be using both of them simultaneously, and you might not even know that you're being used both ways. Okay, I'm going to shut up there.
All right. So
I'm sorry.
I missed out, and I think that Mr. Eric, I apologize. There's something that I missed.
No problem.
Out. I think that we need to also add to the invoice conversation, and it is how the payment has to happen. All right. Some people say 50% upfront and 50% immediately after the project is done, right? But a lot of the time for me is either 70 or 75% upfront, and after the project is approved or submitted, you're paying the rest immediately or within 5 working days of delivery. All right. And if you need to have that conversation and also add it to your invoice, so that it is not expected of you to record and send, and then you start looking for money. Now, I need to add that collecting 70 or 75% upfront is not a yardstick that a lot of the time that you will get the remaining 30% or 25%. I know that might sound strange, but the truth is that I've experienced a situation like that, right? An international client, but of course an African who didn't pay the balance of 25%. But it was easy for me to go through that because I already collected my 75% upfront. Okay, so in cases like that, that rarely happens. I mean, in my years of being in the industry, I think that's the one time. In cases like that, you're still fine. The pain is a little bit small. All right. Imagine that 100% is not paid to you or 75% is not paid. The pain is bigger. All right. So you want to try and also protect your mental health. Collect your 75% upfront and say, as soon as I deliver this, because some clients can be very interesting. So have that as part of what you write in your invoice. And I pray that God helps you and blesses the work of your hand. Thank you.
Amen. Okay, so before I say what I wanted to say, is of course it's easy for some of us to say the 75 or 70% because usually our 70% is already more than the minimum what we charge. So that's why if they don't pay the 30%, we don't feel too bad because at least it's our 70% is already way more than the minimum. So that being said, and I'm speaking to King E, I'm throwing shots at King E for this one. Anyway, the reason why I wanted to come in was I think we're making a mistake between what we agree with clients and what is always to be put in the invoices. Because you see, a lot of the information that has been discussed here is too much information for an invoice. You see, that's why you are supposed to have agreements, either by email or a document sent to the clients to agree terms and conditions. And then in the invoice, you will say all prior terms and conditions discussed apply, or whatever phrasing you want to put in the invoice. So the invoice is a recap of what was discussed, as in on the financials and usage of what was discussed, not necessarily putting in all these terms that King E and our Queen Mother, Chioma BBB are talking about. All that information might be too much for an invoice. So as much as possible, have all those conversations beforehand, have a document or an email with the agreement of everything discussed, and then you can now do the recap of it in your invoice as a sort of reminder to the necessary teams in question. Thank you very much. Let me find my way.
I'm so sorry to cut in. Sorry, I've got to go. My breakfast is cold. I've not eaten since morning because of this meeting. Enjoy, everybody. Thank you so much for good job. Really nice meeting some of you. Not in person. Take care.
All these Canadians, go away. Canadians, go away.
All right.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure listening to all of you. I mean, I had to just keep quiet to let my ogas speak because these people have been there years before I even got into the industry, And it's a pleasure and also a good thing to see that they are more than willing to share this knowledge that they've gathered with years of experience. Many of those experiences were painstaking, by the way, but here we are, we're receiving it on a platter of gold, you may say. I want to say a big thank you to every one of them, from King E Afemikhe, the founder of Voiceover Workshop and Voiceover Workshop and Media, and also the founder of the Voiceover Conference, which is the biggest, arguably, the biggest voiceover conference in Africa. And I also want to say a big thank you to Chioma BBB, our voice actor and coach. She has been there training. I don't know, by now Chioma would have trained over 1,000 people. I also want to acknowledge Eric Maximus. Eric is just Eric. There's no two type of Eric. Is the Don, is the guy, is the Maximus, and he has helped us to demystify the rate card so well, so well, so well. Thank you very much. Also, one of our OGs, Ahmed Olalekan. Ahmed is such a respectable fellow who has done a lot. You would hear his voice everywhere. And he's also very knowledgeable, a strong member of AVOA who has been contributing his quota one way or the other. Thank you so much, Ahmed. And thank you to Eniola Keshinro, who did fantastic with managing the panel session. It was a good job, well done, Eniola. Thank you for doing all of that. Also, I'm not forgetting Joy Ogbekene, the vice, no, not the vice, the general secretary of AVOA. Joy has been holding the fort. A lot of times when conversations of AVOA come on, Joy is always there to respond, and she's still doing so well for AVOA and also for herself. She's got over 20 years of experience, as a matter of fact, another OG in her own right. Shout out to you, Joy. And who else have I not mentioned? I want to acknowledge. Oh my, I need to meet this person. Yes, I want to acknowledge our veterans, starting from Sir Ambrose Mosi. Sir Ambrose is over 30 years of experience in this industry, and he's very generous, giving back to the industry. Was the chairman of the committee that put the rate card together, and it was here against all odds to share with us a historical background of the rate card in the voiceover industry in Nigeria. Thank you very much, sir. We do not take it for granted. And to the
I'm
vice.
still here.
Wow, nice to know that you're still here. God bless you, sir. Yes. Just to acknowledge, if you know the popular Panadol Extra advert that happened, like, is it up to a decade now? That was Sir Ambrose. And he has done so many famous commercials too, like that. A don when it comes to pidgin English. I call him the grandfather of pidgin English in Nigeria. Anyway, thank you very much, sir. And then I want to acknowledge the vice president, who is not here currently, but he was here before, Malam Abdul Muhammad. He has also been very phenomenal and instrumental in helping AVOA, move forward as the vice president, and also with many years of experience in the industry. He has helped and helped and helped over and over again. And then to the president himself, Sir Shegun Arinze. I'm not sure if he's still on, but Mr. Shegun Arinze has been responsive. Oftentimes we call him. You can see how he responded to via the memorandum 2 weeks ago. That was a very good move, and he assured everybody, he promised again that AVOA would fight for voice of artists, either you're a member or not. And I think that's a very good thing. And we look forward to many moves that will come out of this. So thank you very much, Shegun Arinze, for your time and for allowing this happen, because we reached out as a team. And I think it's a good time for me to talk about Voiceverse as well. Voiceverse is the media arm, I could put it like that, of the voiceover industry. And what we're setting out to do is to document stories, moments like this. We should be able to write about it and have it archived somewhere on the internet for future references. You would be surprised the amazing things that has happened in this industry. Some of you are hearing for the first time that the Voiceover Association existed even in the late 90s, but there are not so many places we can get information like this except from word of mouth. So Voiceverse NG is coming up to say, we can document the stories, we can keep records, we can also serve with opportunities and resources to help the industry grow. And that is why we launched our website today, www.voiceverseng.com. You can check it out. We have even a condensed version of the AVOA rate card for those who, the rate card is actually very extensive, 15 pages, but we came up with just trying to highlight some of the very, important ones, and we put it into a 3-page document. So you can have that for yourself as well, for reference sake. But I'll still encourage you to get the full version from the AVOA platform. Go to AVOA's Instagram page. You can get it on their bio and understand better about the voiceover industry's rate card. So this webinar is brought to you by AVOA, the Association of Voiceover Artists Nigeria, in collaboration with Voiceverse. And it's our pleasure to have made this happen today. I'm certain that there'll be more of this in coming times, right? And I'd want to encourage you, wherever you are in your career right now, you have a work to do. We all have responsibilities and roles to play. Both those have been there before us. They can help mentor. And I can tell you for a fact, everybody that you've listened speak today, one way or the other, they've been mentoring, they've been teaching voiceovers from one platform to the other. And it's our responsibility as well, having heard these things today, to also share this, educate our colleagues, educate the clients, and educate the entire space. Let people know better about voiceovers, like Sasha Arinze did today to the governor of Lagos State. Well, it's been a great time, and this is we calling bringing this to an end. Thank you all for being a part of this. I don't think there's anything I'm missing. I'm not missing anything, so I can say my goodbyes now. My name is Tolulope Kolade. I am a voiceover artist and a podcaster, the host of the Everything Voiceovers podcast. If you want to know about the voiceover industry in Nigeria, you can listen to that podcast. I've had interviews with almost everybody today that you heard their voices, from Ambrose Mosi to Sasha Arinze himself, to King E, to Eric. I'm bringing Chioma very soon. Ahmed has been on the podcast. Joy has been on the podcast, and a whole lot of other people. So we have had these conversations. Check it out. Everything Voiceovers, the African Perspective. It's on any platform, including YouTube. You can listen to these conversations there. So that's it for today. Thank you all for being a part of this session. You will find it on Monday on YouTube, and we'll be sending you an email to that regard. As long as you registered to be here, we have your details. We'll send you an email to let you know that it's live and you can go watch it. Thank you so much. I appreciate, and thanks to everyone for being here till this time. All right, from me to you, I'd say keep voicing and keep your hopes alive. Be optimistic. It's going to get better. Do your part to help the industry grow, and we'll see at the top. Bye for now. And yeah, cheers.